It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Into the field! Number 70!
We're talking about practice.
Hello, you play to win the game.
The Yankees are champions of baseball!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
3, 2, 1, happy 2000!
No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Jordan open! Chicago with the lead!
Worldwide Sports Radio Network presents Below the Mic.
Hello. Welcome to a new show of Below the Mic, and it's the last show of Below the Mic, as next week we will have a new show airing on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and it will be called The Sports Loudmouths, and that will include Mr. Speedy Petey, me as yours truly, Mr. Joshua Silverberg, and our reporter, Ike Feldman. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. As you know, this will be the last show. Every single Wednesday. As you guys know, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can call us at 631-500-0548. Speedy Petey, what is wrong with your hair today? I mean, that quab, whatever, what do we call it? Quab, quaggle, whatever. What do we call that? What do we
I
call
like the
that?
words. I don't mind the words you're saying. We could go with quaggle.
Quaggle.
It's a cool word. I don't even know if it's a word, but it's a cool word.
It's not a word. I just told you. I create a new word every single week.
Quaggle.
We can call it on the Errol's Thesaurus, or we can call it Errol's Dictionary, because that
You could file it to
filing it. I like to file a lot of things.
You could file that the name request to whoever comes up with hairstyles. I guess.
You definitely have one interesting hairstyle. I just don't know what we would call that.
We call it a quaggle. We call it the quaggle.
We'll call it the quaggle hairline, okay, or hairdo. What the hairdo? Anyways, the hairdo. Okay. Anyways, I have had a long day, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to entertain you guys for the next 2 hours, and we have a great show lined up for you guys. And no, we're not going to have any special guest for the last show of Below the Mic. No. We're going to get into a lot of conversation. We're going to talk about Justin Fields' Pro Day and why we think it might be a good move for the New York Jets to take a look at Justin Fields' Pro Day and not quite make a decision yet on Zach Wilson. So we will get into that in just a few moments. We're going to talk about the Mets and the Yankees season starting tomorrow, which is going to be fun to watch if you're a baseball fan. Getting to watch baseball come back, 162 games in a year, so we'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to talk about some interesting conversation. What were we going to talk about first? What were we going to talk about?
We were going to talk about the 17-game schedule in the NFL, too.
That's true, too, but there was something else. There was something else that we were going to talk about.
And the NBA players that have been bought out, or buyout players that got signed, including one you were mentioning that you liked before the show.
Yes, so we'll get into that as well. But first, as we do this every single Wednesday, Speedy.
Sports and entertainment news.
Kemba Walker could be on the move in the offseason. Well. Well, it's good news for New York Knicks fans because Kemba Walker has always wanted to play for his team, and that would be the New York Knicks. He went to UConn. He's from the Bronx. Why not the New York Knicks go after Kemba Walker? I know he has $36 million to be paid next year and $37 million to be paid his fourth year. But guess what? Kemba Walker has 2 more years left on his contract. It's a good move for the New York Knicks, and extend Julius Randle in the offseason as well.
They were close 2 years ago when they were in the sweepstakes for Kyrie Irving after he went to the Nets. That was considered to be the backup plan, and that didn't happen either. But now a lot more enticing of a destination are the Knicks.
The Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett inks a 4-year deal worth about $69.2 million. Speedy.
He's going to get traded soon anyway,
I
just
think
like
so
everyone
too.
else.
Doesn't make any sense. DeMarcus Cousins to sign a 10-day contract with the Clippers. Well, the rich get richer. I think that's a great move by the Clippers. Great move.
Tremendous move. They've needed a big man for a while. I know he hasn't played in a while with all the injuries he's had, but it's still a great move for a 10-day contract. It's not like you're giving him a lot of money. He went to Golden State on a 1-year deal recently too, so he's getting good. They're
He
getting
also
good
went to the
bargains.
Rockets.
Yeah.
He was playing with
They're
John Wall before.
Right, they're getting good bargains with that, and the Clippers, that's their biggest need, and they nailed it.
NFL rumors and news. The NFL to relax COVID-19 protocols for vaccinated players' personnel. Well, there were stories coming out that if you're vaccinated, you do not, I repeat, you do not have to be in the bubble or whatever, the containment in the football season. They are going to offer the vaccination to all the players. They do believe that a lot of the players will deny it in their first year. Packers shifty on Aaron Rodgers' future. Well, that's not surprising. They have a quarterback that they just drafted, Jordan Love. I believe he's the future quarterback. I believe he will be starting for the Green Bay Packers, not this coming year, but the next year. So why not look to trade Aaron Rodgers this year, Speedy?
It's interesting. Off an MVP season, his value now is at an all-time high. It proves he has the longevity. Now the question is, how much would it drop off if he drops off a little bit this year, though?
18 massage therapists with names attached to voice to support for Deshaun Watson. How much are they getting paid?
Right.
How much are they getting paid? 18 massage therapists? Give me a break. NFL teams set to have the most cap space to throw at 2022 free agency. What do you think about that, Speed?
Inevitable. I think that they're going to get this money back. Just the desperation, the urgency for fans to go to games. No matter, obviously, they'll still be limited, but people are going to want to go, especially the people that are going to get vaccinated a lot more with the vaccine coming out, really more prevalent now.
NBA rumors and news, 2021 NBA free agency. Well, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, and top 30 free agents this summer. That means Kawhi Leonard could actually opt out of his contract. Chris Paul's a free agent. There's a ton of players that are going to be available for teams like the New York Knicks to make a move for, Speedy.
I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to opt out, but would be interesting if he does, too, for another whole saga of that.
Where do Boston Celtics go from here after trade buyout market failures? What do you think about that?
Maybe start with letting your GM go. Maybe that was the reason for it.
I
defended Danny Ainge for years, but I don't know if I can anymore.
How do you not bring a big man in, something that they've been craving, an offensive rebound and a perimeter defender? It makes no sense. Is Brad Stevens hinting the Celtics would stand pat and buy out contracts? What do you think?
Teams obviously did, so he's right.
J.J. Redick calls David Griffin, Pelicans front office, dishonest after trade. What do you think?
Not surprising. They've had a lot of issues, obviously, with Anthony Davis wanting out and certain young players in the past, so not surprising.
MLB news, extension talks between Mets, Francisco Lindor stalled. I know you're a Met fan. What do you say about that?
It's still going to happen at some point. I think
I
think a lot of people were overblowing the fact that they were trying to rush to get it done before the season. I think it'll still happen. I think you're going to see it maybe in the month of April, early May, something like that. He's going to get his money. I think the bigger deal is years, because Lindor says he wants 12 years and the Mets say they want 10. So I think they're going to try to find a middle ground there, or they're going to try to maximize it where they
We'll get into that. Spit it out, Speedy.
They're trying to maximize where they gave him 8 years and more money later.
Is the Angels' Shohei Ohtani finally ready to be a two-way star again? I would say so. I don't know how strong his arm is going to be moving forward, but we know what he is as a hitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think hitting will be fine in terms of his star-wise. We'll see pitching-wise how much he'll be able to carry the load. We've heard reports, too, that Joe Madden is also maybe trying to experiment with him in the bullpen, too.
NHL rumors and news, the Sharks are willing to take a cap hit to exchange for assets, exchange for assets. It's not surprising to me. I think San Jose spent a lot of money last offseason and really have nothing to show for it. They have no championships. They didn't really go far in the playoffs. I think San Jose is going to take on as many contracts as they can to bring in some draft stock.
Yeah, they went all in after just missing out on the Stanley Cup against St. Louis. They came back and beat Vegas in that playoff series, but they have not been the same since. They traded for Erik Karlsson. He has been hurt a lot of the times he's been there, and he's been underwhelming too. And they do not have a goaltender to speak of.
Why the Maple Leafs are the biggest trade... why Maple Leafs' biggest trade needs is a winger for John Tavares and William Nylander. Well... I could say this, John Tavares will regret leaving the New York Islanders one way or another. Might not be now, might not be next year, but it will be soon. He will regret leaving the New York Islanders.
It'll be funny when Montreal or Calgary or something beats them in the playoffs, even after this great year that they've had.
And that is it for sports and entertainment news for today. I will say this is probably the last sports and entertainment news we're going to do, because we're not going to be doing that for the sports loudmouths. But
so I guess this would be considered the mic drop.
I guess so. This will be more than the mic drop. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for listening to this show. We're going to have a lot of fun on the sports loudmouths. It's going to be a great show, so definitely stay tuned for that. But I want to first get into this Francisco Lindor, and that's why I told Speedy to spit it out, because we can get into that now.
Everything.
You revealed enough. I mean, you couldn't shut up, and that's you. You just go on and on and on.
I hinted, but
okay. You hinted it more than what we expected. But anyways, I want to get into this Francisco Lindor situation. Now, I know New York Met fans are sitting back and saying, this is going to happen. They're going to sign Francisco Lindor to that $300 and some million contract. What bothers me about this particular contract is the fact that Francisco Lindor is controlling everything right now. He decided to tell the Mets that he will not take less than $340-something million, and he wants more than a 10-year contract. Now, what bothers me about looking at this particular player is, and I've said this over and over again, Francisco Lindor is the best all-around shortstop, 5-tool shortstop in the major leagues. No question that he is. But for a player that's batting .285 in the regular season, .263 in the playoffs, a guy that honestly has been healthy for the last couple of years, but also is, reaching to the age of 27, 28 years old. He's getting up there where he's in the prime of his career. He wants a 12-year deal, which would make him a Met till he's like 39, 40 years old. I think you have to look at this situation, and if you're a New York Met fan, do you want to take on a contract like this where it could hold up an opportunity to maybe make a move 5-6 years down the road for another big star? And I know what everybody's going to say. Josh Silverberg, all these Met fans are going to say, well, they got Steve Cohen, and Uncle Stevie's the richest owner right now in professional sports. Quite possibly could be true, okay? But as much as the money that he has in his pocket, you have to understand that if he's not bringing in the assets, he's not bringing in the money from the team, he's not going to spend $400 million for a player. Now, I understand that Pete Alonso has come out and said that the Mets should pay him $400 million. Now, Pete Alonso, I respect very, very much. The polar bear, very well respected around the league. Here's the problem why I don't think Pete Alonso should open up his mouth. Pete Alonso, who I think has been very significantly a face for the New York Mets for the last 2 years, in the offseason decided to get rid of his social medias. He decided to really not be in contact with any press or anybody where it's going to get him in trouble or any of the Mets organization in trouble in the offseason. Then all of a sudden, this comes out, and Pete Alonso speaks up for Francisco Lindor, where he should have just kept his mouth shut, saying that the Mets should pay Francisco Lindor $400 million. Now, let me ask you a question. Pete Alonso, do you own $400 million? Do you have $400 million to tell an owner that you should give Francisco Lindor almost $500 million? And the answer is no. Why is it that players like to speak up for other players? Now, it affects Pete Alonso's contract. It does. Because in 2-3 years from now, when Pete Alonso wants to be extended, is the Mets going to give him a $200 million contract if they're going to give Francisco Lindor a $400 million contract? The answer is no, they're not. And it's all, and I want people to understand something. I don't care how rich the owner is. He could be the richest owner in professional sports, which he quite possibly is.
He's the second to Steve Ballmer.
Yeah, so he's the second richest owner in professional sports, okay? Now, if the owner is not bringing in the money, he's not winning. The Mets aren't winning championships, okay? And I'm talking about not one championship. I'm talking about 2 championships, okay? Because to bring in a $400 million player, and then you have to pay guys like Alonso, who's going to want about, I would say, when COVID-19 is over, he's going to want a $180, $200 million contract. Right. You have, who else do you have right now that is looking for a big contract? Conforto wants a $130, $140 million contract. Where do the Mets have this money if they're not filling out the stadiums? Now, obviously, if the Mets are good, they're going to fill out. They're going to sell out their stadiums.
Right.
They're going to bring in obviously endorsements and all that other stuff, and they're going to be making money. But let's say Francisco Lindor signs that $400 million contract, okay, and then he tears his ACL, he tears his UCL, and he's out for a full year, and then he comes back and he hurts his ankle.
That would be very typical Mets.
He hurts his ankle and he's out for 50, 60 games. And then he comes back and then he hurts his elbow again. And that's the problem. Francisco Lindor is 27, going to be 28 years old. He's getting older. In baseball, playing 162 games in a season, wears and tears your knees, your ankles, your ligaments, your muscles. You're not the same player when you hit the age of 31, 32. Ask Alex Rodriguez. Ask Derek Jeter. And these guys played till they were 40. So, again, I think that the Mets got to be very, very careful on how they extend these contracts and how they display on how they're going to pay these contracts out by. I don't care how much Steve Cohen has. You have to look at it, Speedy. You have to.
The strategy is always going to be balancing him out while still being
$400 million is balancing him out.
No, I'm talking about per year in terms of backloading versus front.
So you would pay him $40 million a year for the next 12 years.
No, I'm not saying I would. I'm talking about the strategy of the contracts. It's gonna be big no matter what. I think he's gonna end up getting in the range of the 300, the low 300, maybe in the 320s at the most.
Not from the Mets, because he's already said he wants a 10 to 12 year contract,
right?
And he wants $340 or more million.
Which, if they get the 12-year contract, that's what it would be. I think in the 10-year range, it would be more in the 320s, or even they might even go a shorter year duration and front load it, where Lindor will get the money now, and that'll end up helping when they have to pay those other guys down the road with Alonso, because Alonso's not going to have to get paid for a while. He might get the Acuna-like contract right now, but he's not going to have to get paid the $300 million that he could get if he continues to be a nice player for the Mets. And obviously the pitchers, we'll have to see with them too. But that kind of thing is still going to be strategy based no matter what, because you have to pay the guy no matter what. You traded for him, you traded Rosario, you traded Jimenez. They got a great value for it, but you still have to pay the guy. And that's the trends we've seen with baseball. The Dodgers paid Mookie Betts relatively quickly right away. You saw the Padres do. Obviously, they got their big contracts.
Okay, he's the best shortstop in the league right now. Okay, Nolan Arenado, who's the best third baseman in baseball. What did he get? What did he get?
8 years, $250.
$250, okay? So you're talking about a better all-around player than Lindor.
But also older, too.
By what? 3 years?
5 years.
3 years. How old was he when he signed that contract? 30 years old.
He was 30.
30.
And Lindor was 25 at that time.
Lindor is 27 right now.
2 years later.
I'm talking about right now. You're talking about Nolan Arenado. When he signed that contract, he was 30 years old. He's 3 years older than Lindor, and he, to me, is a better player at his position. He is a better all-around player at a position. And you're talking about arguing that this guy wants $400 million. He wants $150 million more than Nolan Arenado, who's a much better defender than he is. Much better. And he's a much better offensive player than he is. Yes, he played in Colorado, and there's no argument to that. And I still think shortstop is the hardest position to defend at that quality position. But again, he's 27, going to be 28. He's really never fought any major injury yet.
Neither is Lindor, though.
No, I'm talking about Lindor. I'm not talking about Nolan Arenado.
Well,
you can't sit here and tell me that it's okay to pay Nolan Arenado. Not Nolan Arenado. Lindor, Francisco Lindor, $400 million, and it's okay.
Nobody said it was okay for $400. I think everyone's trying to push for. Is it the 320?
He's not. I don't even think he's worth $300 million. I don't think he is. No, he's not.
Is.
Really? How
is Bryce Harper worth $300 million?
Actually,
way better than Bryce Harper.
Really?
Yes.
How many MVPs did Lindor make?
Who cares?
How many MVPs?
Harper's had one great season, and that's all of a sudden.
One great season.
Harper's had 3 bad ones too, in addition to Lindor, who hasn't had a bad season except for a shortened season. Lindor's a great defender. Harper's not a great defender. Harper strikes out a lot more. Lindor steals bases.
He's a power hitter. He's a power hitter.
Slightly better power hitter.
Slightly better?
His raw power I'm talking about? Yeah.
Slightly better? I think he's a lot better. But that's just me. I think he's a lot better.
Also, Lindor's a switch hitter. He's much more durable. There's a lot of other factors to contribute with that. Bryce Harper got overpaid by the Phillies, and the Phillies are going to regret that along with their other contracts. Lindor is younger. He's younger now, obviously, than Harper, but I think the same age when they got similar ages when they got the contracts. But yes, he's a more well-rounded player. Maybe the contract to look at is the Machado one, where that's more similar. Where Machado is a great defender too, durable, can play multiple positions. Obviously, that's more to look at. And he got around 310, 320. So I think that's the contract to really mirror it on.
Okay, so Bryce Harper has 232 home runs right now in his career. Bryce Harper is 27 years old?
Okay, yeah.
He's 27 years old. He got it at 25. He got a $300 million. So he's 2 years younger. He has 232 home runs, which is a lot more than the great Francisco Lindor.
Okay.
He's a career 276 batting average. He has a career 276 batting average to Lindor's 285. Okay? So he's not much better as a hitter.
Switch hitter matters, though. Too.
I don't want to hear switch hitter garbage. He has 668 RBIs. Go to Francisco Lindor's, Mr. Producer. Let's average out when it comes to contracts and looking at players and their consistencies. Because to me, Bryce Harper has an MVP. Lindor doesn't. Bryce Harper's had 3 unbelievable seasons to Francisco's 1.
And he's also had some dud seasons mixed into that.
Doesn't matter.
Lindor,
doesn't matter.
Besides the shortened season last year where he was down, really didn't have that kind of dud season.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 seasons as a major league player, okay? So how many? 6 seasons to him, okay? And he got his contract 25. So what is the numbers right now?
So he has a career 285, 138 home runs, 411 RBIs. Remember, he also didn't play all the 2015 season either. He came up late, so he only played 99 games, whereas Bryce Harper came up right away. And stolen bases 99, does not strike out as much, 496, and per season he's only had 1 year over 100 strikeouts too.
98 stolen bases for Bryce Harper. 668 RBIs to who? How many?
411.
Okay. 232 home runs to what?
To 138.
And batting career 276 to what?
To 285.
Okay.
But also factor in 3 more years.
On-base percentage, too. What's his on-base percentage?
On-base percentage, 346.
387.
Okay.
Okay. Slugging percentage?
488.
513. Bryce Harper's a better player.
But he has 3 more years.
It doesn't matter.
That helps.
Bryce Harper is a better player. It doesn't matter. He's a better all-around player. And maybe not a better defensive player, obviously.
No.
He's not a better defensive player. Stolen bases, he's got more. At 25. Remember, last year was a full-out season. So let's take a one. Let's say what happened
for both of them.
And Bryce Harper missed almost a full season the year before that. He was hurt. He had a thumb injury or whatever.
Going back to my point earlier about durability.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because Francisco Lindor, he's been in the league for how many years?
5.5 essentially. Because remember, 2015 he didn't come up right away.
Again, that's not my argument. If you look at the numbers and you compare and contrast numbers, how many games has he played?
777.
Okay, and Bryce Harper, when he got the contract, he played probably around 900, okay? Because he came into the league when he was 18.
Right.
All right, so 1,142. If you really look and you potentially try to compare and contrast numbers, Bryce Harper has better numbers than Francisco Lindor.
Because he's played 3 more years.
If you take those, do you want me to average out right now?
Take out 2012, 13, and 14.
All right,
when
let's
Lindor
do it.
started.
270, 274, 273, 330, 243, 319. 249, 270, 268. You do it. He's got better numbers if you take away those 3 years.
Right, because you have to factor in the duration of time. Lindor has more stolen bases, if you want to take that, than Harper.
By what, Speedy?
By one
by
in
what?
3 more years. 3.5 more years.
All right, 3.5 more
or
years.
less years.
All right, so take 3.5 years off. What does he have? 76? 78? He's not even a guy. He's not a base stealer. He's not even a guy that steals bases. And he has 78 stolen bases. If you look at his numbers are better than Francisco Lindor. They're much better than Francisco Lindor.
And Lindor is still way more consistent in terms of the times of his career that he's had. Bryce Harper has done massive years. 2017 was a massive year. His MVP year was a massive year. He's also had his duds, too, where Lindor hasn't really had that.
He's had 2 duds. And Francisco Lindor is not a good playoff hitter. He's just not.
And Bryce Harper is.
Nah, I didn't say that he was. But Francisco Lindor wants $400 million. And that's all I'm going to say.
He's not going to get $400 million.
Well, that's what he thinks he's going to get.
Okay, players are delusional sometimes, too.
Players are delusional, so are you. You're delusional, too. So I'm just speaking the truth on this. I'm looking at the postseasons right now. Bryce Harper.
He had one good one in 2014.
It's postseason, the advanced postseason. I'm trying to go through the postseason. Bryce Harper, this is the batting average right here, right?
276.
276. On base percentage, 387.
No,
Slugging
that's what you were
percentage?
saying before. Those aren't those numbers.
No, they're not.
So Lindor's, I'll do Lindor's, 263. He has 5 home runs, 12 RBIs in the playoffs, and on base percentage 327. Bryce Harper, I know he has probably similar home run numbers because he did have that one great postseason 2014 where the rest of the team was really choked that one away. But the other other 4 postseasons he was in, he was bad.
I'm just looking at Bryce Harper's numbers. I think Bryce Harper's a better all-around player. Better offensive player. How's that sound? He's a better all-around.
I think he's a better power hitter.
He's a better all-around offensive player. On-base percentage, better. Slugging percentage, better. Batting average, almost the same, identical. Even if they take 3 years away, Bryce Harper still has more home runs.
All right, Bryce Harper's playoffs, 211, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, on-base percentage 315.
And what is his batting average?
211.
211. So he's not a good batting average, but he's got more home runs and more RBIs.
Same amount of home runs.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
And about the same time. So besides the batting average, they're pretty similar beyond that. And I think the offensive talent in terms of judging the Indians versus the Nationals were very similar because I think they both were kind of top-heavy lineups with not a lot of depth.
The Nationals sucked. Come on, man. Are you serious? You're going to sit here and tell me that the Nationals were they stunk. When Bryce Harper was there for the 5-6 years that he was there, they stunk. The only good player on the team was him and Rendon. Everybody else was garbage.
Daniel Murphy was an MVP candidate.
Yeah, for 1 year. And that was the only
2
year.
years. 2 years in a row.
That was the only 2 years they made the playoffs. That was the only 2 years they made the playoffs with the Nationals.
2012
and they had Scherzer,
2014, yeah.
they had Scherzer, and they had Strasburg, and they still couldn't get over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so honestly, I'm looking at the big picture here. Now, I don't think Francisco Lindor is worth $300 million. I think I'd give Francisco Lindor 270, 275, 280. I know he won't take that, and he's going to want a $300 million contract. But how much better is Francisco Lindor than he is to Gleyber Torres? Gleyber Torres is not going to get a $300 million contract from the Yankees. He's not. He's not. I'm going to tell you this right now. 3 years from now, when the Yankees extend him, he's not getting a $300 million contract. What makes Francisco Lindor that much better than Gleyber Torres? And he's much younger than Francisco Lindor. Much younger.
Well, Torres is still an unknown too because he's played obviously less years than Lindor. So
3 years.
Yeah, he's got the same 3 year gap that I gave the leeway with Lindor and Harper. So I'll wait it out with that kind of thing. The injuries are obviously the biggest concern with Gleyber, and the defense that we thought was going to be very good when he came up as a prospect hasn't been all there in comparison to what it.
I mean,
was
he hasn't been bad. I mean,
no, I don't think he's been as bad as people say he has either.
What do you have? 5 errors last year. He's a good
in a short
shortstop.
season. Yeah. I think the year before he had 9. So I
I'm
don't
gonna
think
look at his numbers.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people blow him up to be. A lot of Yankee fans don't like him playing defense whatsoever. But
the Yankee fans are idiots.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say about that.
We know that, but still, I think the judgment of what Gleyber Torres is going to get is still unknown because we also have to factor in what other contracts are the Yankees going to give because the Yankees have so many different young players they could play, but they probably won't pay them all, and that'll leave more room for Torres. Maybe it'll leave more room for Aaron Judge to get a bigger contract. We don't know. There's a lot of unknown factors. They paid LeMahieu. They got a great bargain on LeMahieu, and that'll help. But there's still a lot of unknowns.
Just think about this.
It's not going to come yet.
Look at Gleyber Torres' numbers. His slugging percentage, 493, much better than Francisco Lindor. On-base percentage, 340, it's about 10.
Similar.
Yeah, 0.10 more than Francisco Lindor. His RBIs in his career so far in 3 years, he has 183 RBIs to how many?
Lindor is 411 for his career,
and he's played
years,
played 3 more years. So he's over there almost at the average.
He's on a good pace.
271 batting average, especially in the quarter year that he had last year. That's pretty damn good to Francisco Lindor's 285. And he's got 65 home runs in 2.5 years. So that's pretty good, too. He's probably going to have more home runs in 3 years than Lindor has.
If he stays healthy.
Yeah, he will. He will stay healthy. And you stop saying this if he stays healthy. He will stay healthy. And to me, when you look at the averages of every single thing that I have just spoken, I'm taking Gleyber Torres. You think Gleyber Torres is getting a $300 million contract from the Yankees?
Too early to tell.
Come on, honestly. Do you think the Yankees are going to pay him $300 million?
They will if they don't pay the other guys because
they're not.
It's an unknown still with Judge because of his injuries. Gary Sanchez is definitely not getting it now. And the only other big contract they have to worry about maneuvering is Stanton. So if they end up paying another another pitcher. Or
They're not going to maneuver that contract because he's under contract.
No. I'm not saying I'm saying maneuver around it because that's a lot of money, and obviously Garrett Cole's contract's a lot of money.
They have two $300 million players, and you're talking about Gleyber Torres being a third. You're talking about a guy that is going to be expecting Lindor kind of money because he's just as good as Lindor.
Yeah, later down the road when his arbitration time is up, it's definitely possible. It's just right now you're judging because it was a shortened season last year and he didn't play well. He also played well in the playoffs, so that kind of washes to an extent. And then he also had the injuries. It's just
350
it's
as a
just too
playoff
early
hitter last year.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
pretty
too
damn
early to
good.
tell at the moment judging a longer term deal because the years are the other area that you have to look at when it's not just the amount of money. It's is he going to get 8 years? Is he going to get 10 years? And are you going to trust an injury prone player like that too to be able to do that, especially with other injury prone players on the team? Now, if they either limit Judge's contract or let him walk or something like that, then maybe he has the
I
opening
can't sit
for
here
it.
and listen to this because there's nothing. I'm telling you right now, Yankee fans out there, anybody that's listening to us right now, the Yankees are not going to give Gleyber Torres a $300 million contract. They let him walk before they give him a $300 million contract. So what makes any Met fan think that Francisco Lindor is worth $400 million? He's not worth $400 million. He's not even worth $340. I would say I would put Francisco Lindor between $250 and $300. That's where he's at. That's where I think Francisco Lindor is worth. A career 285 hitter at the shortstop position, that's what I would give him. He's going to be, 27, 28? Mm-hmm. How old is he?
27.
He's 27. He's going to be 28 this year. When's his birthday? Check out when his birthday is. I want to know when Francisco Lindor's birthday is. Because right now, Gleyber Torres is going to be 25 in December of this year. Okay? So I'm trying to compare and contrast. Come on, Speedy. What are you doing over there? Move the thing up. Let's go. How old? When's his birthday?
He is November 14th, 1993.
So he will be.
So he'll be 28 at the end of the year.
He will be 28 at the end of this year, which tells you that he is at the prime of his career now. Now, you're going to pay a guy. You're going to give a guy a 10, 12-year deal worth about $350 million. You're going to put yourself in cap hell because if there is anywhere in the future becomes a salary cap league, which quite possibly could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, the Mets are going to put themselves in a situation where they're not going to be able to get themselves out of.
Yeah, again, that's the risk that a lot of these big market teams are ending up running. You're seeing it now, obviously, with the Padres, with all the splashes they made 2 years ago with Machado, with Hosmer, guys like that, and then now obviously the big contract now with Tatis, the Yankees, the Dodgers, all these big market teams are running that same risk no matter what. I don't think the salary cap is going to happen because I think the players' union is very, very strong in baseball, and that's why you see comments like Alonso just made with him saying that he deserves $400 million, which we agree. I think a lot of
Alonso
Mets
should
fans
just shut his mouth.
Right.
How's that?
Any smart Mets fan will
How's
say
that?
he doesn't deserve that money.
How about
I think
this?
his contract is going to be very similar to Machado's. It was 8 years, $315.
How about this? This is what the Met fans should do, and what the Mets should do. Shut their mouths and play the game. When you're celebrating in spring training and trying to practice on winning a World Series, it's a joke. When you're trying and you're sitting out there, Pete Alonso saying all the right things, and then all of a sudden, throughout the press saying that pay the guy $400 million when it's not your $400 million to offer, that's ridiculous too. Okay? There should be no reason why Pete Alonso or anybody should be speaking up for any Met. Because to be honest, let's see what this team could do when they're actually a good team. Because if they start the season 0-10 or 2-10 or 2-12, nobody's going to be talking about giving Francisco Lindor a $400 million contract.
Well, they're notoriously fast starters. Their problem is the month of May and the month of June. They start falling apart.
Oh, that could change this year, especially with the injuries that they have and going into the season unorthodox. This is something that the Mets have not been, year in and out, having a lineup that is expected to hit very, very well in their lineup. Okay,
Offensive depth. Who would have thought?
Well, again. Nobody over the years expected the Mets to be a very good lineup. Now, all of a sudden, you add Francisco Lindor and some of the players that they've added in the offseason, you expect them to compete as a top offensive team in the league. So let's see when the Mets are under pressure in New York in front of the fans, what they can do. Because I don't know what Francisco Lindor could do as a Met moving forward.
Well, that's always the wild card for any New York team. You can't just say, all right, maybe this guy can't handle New York and not go it. They're still going to go after it. Same thing with the Yankees, too. And a lot of Yankee fans, when Stanton started struggling, they gave him a bit of a lashing. John says, hey, what I say if he's not accept the contract, trade his ass in July. Off season, a lot of good free agents. Yeah, that was
Baez.
a big splash.
I
yeah.
think Baez would be. I think Baez all around better. He's a better all around offensive player than Lindor. Is he a better defender? I haven't seen enough of Baez at shortstop. I've seen more at him at second base.
Yeah, he's. I don't think he's far behind Lindor. Actually, I think his defense gets very underrated. John says you can get a lot for him. Yeah, of course. I don't expect it to extend that far. I think it's going to be more of a month, 2 month type thing. I think they're really just trying to figure out the years more than anything.
I don't know about that because I don't think he's budging. I don't think he's budging between 10 and 12 years worth about $380 million. I think that's what he wants. I think he wants Mike Trout money. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets maybe give him $365, $370, but he doesn't deserve $370 million. I'm sorry. As good as Francisco Lindor is, and he's the best all-around shortstop in the league, he's not worth I don't think he's worth $300 million. I think he's more between $250 to $300. That's where I think he is.
There's two bases to look at that the Mets are probably going to use to judge this. Machado's contract, which is 8 years, $315 that they got from the Padres, and his teammate Fernando Tatis Jr., who got the big 13-year contract of $354
He's also
million.
a baby. He's, 20 years old?
Right. Now, they're going to look at it as somewhere of a
They
middle
got a bargain
ground.
for him. I mean, if Tatis is anywhere close to the player that we've seen so far, they got a bargain for Tatis because right now, what did he get? Between 25 and $32
His
million?
average annual value is 24.3.
All right,
which is very good.
So he's getting a $24 million contract for the next 12 years, 13 years. That's a steal for a top shortstop.
Right. Yeah, his average annual value is a very good bargain for San Diego. So I think going back to Lindor, that they're going to look at that as a similar ground because Lindor is obviously more durable than those two guys. Obviously, Lindor, age-wise, he's a little younger than Machado, and then he's obviously much older than Tatis. So they're going to judge that accordingly. But the durability will make a difference, and his well-rounded game will make a difference. Now, Tatis could definitely grow into that. We'll have to see because he has all the potential to do everything. And Machado's already shown flashes that he could do everything as well. So they're going to judge that as a basis. Now, again, the years is still going to be judging 10 years because Lindor or Tatis got 13 and Machado got 8. Maybe it's in between. Maybe it's the 12 he wants, but it's front loaded, or the 12 he wants and it's similar to Tatis's contract where they're going to try to judge the average annual value. Yes, John, that is true. The Braves got very lucky with Acuna. That is for sure. But it wouldn't surprise me if Acuna
Steal of the last offseason.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me though if Acuna tries to push for something like that too. Now.
I don't know how you could. I mean, you signed a $100 million contract. What did they extend him? What was it?
8 years, 105. Yeah,
it was a great deal. It really was. And the Braves. To me, the Braves have made a lot of good moves in the last couple of years, and I think bringing in a veteran pitcher, what's his name?
Charlie
Morton, which they needed a veteran pitcher in the playoffs. Now they bring in one of the more experienced veteran pitchers in the playoffs for the last 5 years.
One of the best overall playoff pitchers.
I mean, you put yourself in a very good situation, especially coming out of the National League East. But I think this is crazy right now. And I really thought that the Mets had to get this contract done before the season starts. Now you're going to be dangling this around. And I really believe that if it's dangled around by July, John's right. I would try to move him because he might sit out. He might sit on this until the end of the season. If he has a breakout season with the Mets, I mean, he's going to say, I want $450 million. I mean, this is crazy. A career 285 hitter demanding almost a $400 million contract is ridiculous.
That's why I'm saying these players' union is a lot stronger, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily realistic. And that's why a lot of these free agents have had trouble getting the contracts either faster or more than they thought that they were going to get. Now, obviously, there have been some exceptions, like I said, with Machado and Harper that whole year, but we thought that would be the basis. It's turned out to be more of the exception. And then obviously the players that are deserve it too, like Trout, like Mookie Betts, what they got. But still, it's a lot tougher of a market where it's going to be difficult for them to get in terms of everything. However, the trend still is for these bigger market teams to still end up paying their guys, especially when they come in trades like Lindor did.
I want to get into the Justin Fields sweepstakes. And I know a lot of people watched his pro day, and a lot of people can go back and forth what the Jets should do, meaning Zach Wilson right now is more than likely going to be drafted by the New York Jets. I mean, the stories coming out, the stories that we've read, we understand why San Francisco moved up to the third pick because they really they want to solidify themselves. And I really think that San Francisco is more interested in Trey Lance than Justin Fields. But after this pro day, I mean, Justin Fields really showed you what type of player he could be. He really did. I mean, look at who he is as a player. This is a guy that outplayed Trevor Lawrence not once but twice in their ball games. Now, yes, Trevor Lawrence won last year, not this past year, but last year's ball game. But Justin Fields outplayed Trevor Lawrence in that game.
Yeah, Lawrence had a bad first half. He played better in the second.
He was the better quarterback in that game. And then this year, Ohio State knocked off Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, when everybody thought Clemson was the foregone conclusion national champions.
Right, they were actually a better team on paper in 2020 than 2019.
To me, all he had to prove in his pro days, he can run a 4.443, which he did, and he had to prove his throwing ability, his arm strength,
right.
And he showed that the 65, 67 passes that he threw on his pro day,
tight windows too, downfield. He did everything spectacularly too. John says Fields looked really good, and he fits San Francisco system. Yeah, if the Jets end up taking Zach Wilson, that would be easily the best thing for them to do, and if that's the case, they end up getting a huge bargain at number 3. If they end up taking one of the other two, that's going to be looked at a long time if you're San Francisco.
Here's the question. If Trevor Lawrence, and I'll tell you this, and what really was alarming to me about Urban Meyer never showed up to Zach Wilson's pro day. He did not show up to Zach Wilson's pro day. Meanwhile, everybody's saying quite possibly that Zach Wilson is the best quarterback in this class, and he knows he was at Trey Lance's pro day.
Yes, he was.
He was at he was at Matt Jones's pro day. He was at Trevor Lawrence's pro day, and he was also at Justin Fields' pro day.
Obviously,
but he wasn't at Zach Wilson's pro day, which makes absolutely no sense. Now, maybe he was making a statement, trying to show everybody that even though a lot of scouts and a lot of people are saying that Zach Wilson could be the best quarterback in this draft class, that Urban Meyer is not interested in him. Maybe that's what he's trying to say. Or maybe he really is interested in Zach Wilson, and that was his way to hide it.
Well, here's the thing that Urban Meyer is going to have a lot of trouble with if that's the case. Do your due diligence, for one. That's bad in the draft process. John says, just like Miami taking Tua over Herbert. That was obvious. They announced they were taking Tua before the season even started, so that was obvious. But yes, they could regret that too, for sure, with the way Herbert played Rookie of the Year. But going back to Urban Meyer, he has a system obviously from college, but again, how will that system work in the NFL? And we've also seen coaches now and offensive coordinators, stuff like that, adjust to their quarterbacks too. And Zach Wilson is not like just a one-way quarterback. It's not like, all right, he just has this big arm.
He's the best all-around quarterback in this class.
He could do a lot of different things, and you could cater that to a system, either to his strengths more or to whatever your strengths of the system is going to be. You don't really have that kind of power. I know you were obviously a great coach in college, no doubt about that, but you don't really have that power being a first-year coach. And to not explore every option as a quarterback is really not doing a good job in your due diligence in the draft process. And same thing with the GM. That's definitely a bad look for him, too.
Well, here's the thing. You look at Justin Fields, and you look at Trevor Lawrence, and you look at Zach Wilson. Who has the better arm? Who has the better arm strength?
I think the best arm strength is Lawrence.
Zach Wilson. They say Zach Wilson has the best arm in this draft class. Okay, so that's one. Who's the more accurate passer? Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, or Justin Fields?
Fields actually was the most accurate this season.
No, he wasn't. Zach Wilson was. Zach Wilson was a 71% completion percentage, 20 yards or longer, which is what you look for.
Deep accuracy, yeah.
But that's the most important thing.
They meant
short
overall.
passes, anybody can throw short passes.
Well, no, it's also medium and intermediate passes, too.
Zach Wilson's the better quarterback when it comes to that.
Zach Wilson had the best deep accuracy. I'm talking about overall.
Zach Wilson had a 71.8% accuracy when it came to 20 yards or more in the NCAA in college football, which is better than Justin Fields and better than Trevor Lawrence. So those are two aspects of his game. Inside and out of the pocket, not running. I'm talking about moving inside and out of the pocket and making the best deep passes and the more accurate deep passes. Who was the best in college football doing that this year? That would be Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was the best at that. What is different between Zach Wilson and these two, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields? Probably, I would say, even though Zach Wilson didn't run his 40, and a lot of people say he can run a 4.5, a 4.6, which is very good for a quarterback, and that's still very fast. Justin Fields ran a 4.4, and Trevor Lawrence ran I think he ran a 4.5, 4.6.
I think 4.62 or something like that.
Yeah, which is probably where Zach Wilson is. The only reason why Trevor Lawrence is going number one is because of what he did his freshman year, and really because everybody's been saying he's a generational type of quarterback.
Right.
That's the only reason why. Now, do I think Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this class? The answer is no. I never thought he was. Anybody who listens to the show, I never thought Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback in this class. Now, if you were the Jets, and let's just say this, Justin Fields goes 1. Do the Jets draft Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson? Now, in anybody's aspect, you would probably draft Trevor Lawrence. More than likely, if you sit back and you try to look at any conspiracy theories, because a lot of people think the Jets are, for the foregone conclusion, the Jets are going to draft Zach Wilson. Not necessarily, because if if Justin Fields goes 1 to Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, now the Jets have to sit back and say, are you going to deal with knowing that Trevor Lawrence will go to San Francisco, have a chance to win a couple of Super Bowls in San Francisco after John Lynch moved all the way up to get 3, never even thought in their wildest dreams that Trevor Lawrence will be sitting there. But that's what's so interesting about this. That's what's so interesting about this, because Zach Wilson fits the best in this offense, fits the best in San Francisco's offense. So either way, if Justin Fields goes 1, I think San Francisco wins no matter what.
Yeah.
Because if Trevor Lawrence goes 2, Zach Wilson goes 3.
They're their own worst enemy.
And
if they don't take anyone, they take anyone else.
If Zach Wilson goes 2, Trevor Lawrence goes 3. So really, this works out. If anything happens and somehow Urban Meyer makes a
crazy pick,
a Cleveland Browns move for Baker Mayfield, which is looking like it wasn't a bad move, because Baker Mayfield has turned out to be a very good quarterback in the league. Is he better than Lamar Jackson? No. Is he better than Josh Allen? No. Is he better than Sam Darnold right now? Yes, he is right now. But if Sam goes somewhere else, he might develop. Remember, he's a very young quarterback. He still could develop and still could become the franchise quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be. But so just think about this right now. John Lynch made an unbelievable move. What was it, 3-4 years ago, and moved up to get Thomas. Now, Solomon Thomas turned out to be garbage. But look what he did.
Yeah, should have drafted Marshawn Lattimore.
Look what he did. He traded down, got all those first-round draft picks, and he's still Mitchell Trubisky went over there to Chicago.
Your boy.
They made a mistake. And I didn't say he's my boy. I think he's a value player. And I still think he's a good player in this league. I'm very surprised the New England Patriots didn't bring him in. I think he would fit like a glove in the New England offense. I really do.
Snug says the real question, who has the better hair? Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, or Earl Marks?
I would say Zach Wilson.
I would say Lawrence.
I have very good hair. And I have very healthy hair and very thick hair. So I could grow my hair.
I don't think that was the question.
Oh, my hair is good.
Snug, were you referring to the healthiness of the hair?
Yes. Good. Obviously, real question is better hair. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, absolutely. But, my argument here is, just think about it. These next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting when it comes to going into this draft. Because being that I've said that there could be 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first 10 picks, you're talking about so many good players that are going to fall all the way to the teens, and sometime maybe in the middle of the 20s, where you can get a very good top end pick in the middle of at the end of the first round draft pick, as a first round draft pick. So you look at Zach Wilson, you look at Justin Fields, you look at Trey Lance, and you look at Trevor Lawrence. Now, the only thing that's going to be a question here is Trevor Lawrence definitely going to foregone conclusion that Trevor Lawrence is going to be drafted by Jacksonville. And after seeing Urban Meyer over there talking to the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they were sitting there hanging out and talking, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 pick. I don't, especially what Justin Fields did on his pro day. Just think, Justin Fields ran a 4.4. The last quarterback that ran better than that was Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson is the same, as far as height is concerned, he's the same size as Justin Fields. They're both almost identical when it comes to speed. Right. Justin Fields is 230 pounds to Lamar Jackson 215. So Justin Fields is built like an ox, okay? He is a stronger quarterback. Lamar Jackson don't have the arm strength and the arm ability and the accuracy like Justin Fields does, okay? And Lamar Jackson was an MVP, and he's been in the playoffs every single year since he's been a starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. So to me, this class is so very important. This quarterback class is so very important to get it right. And I think that when you look at the Jets at number 2, and they've already come out and said that they're not trading out of the second pick, that's why everybody thought it was a foregone conclusion with Zach Wilson. Not necessarily now, because after seeing Justin Fields throw and run and his ability to do the things that he does as athletic as he is, and I will say this, if I were to choose between all three quarterbacks, here's the reason why I would take Justin Fields over both of them. And this is the truth. Justin Fields has the more upside than both of those guys. And the reason why is he's got a more accurate athletic ability. You know what Justin Fields is going to be able to do on the field. He's very fast. He's not agile at all. He's got all the ability. He can make every single throw that Zach Wilson can make. He can make every single throw that Trevor Lawrence can make. And he's faster than both of them and more athletic than both of them. Now, if you were an NFL scout, if you were an NFL GM, which would you rather go after? Now, you look at Zach Wilson. You compare and contrast Justin Fields to Zach Wilson's arm strength, almost identical, and Trevor Lawrence. You look at everything but speed. And with speed, it can change a ball game. The league's become a mobile game. The quarterback has become a mobile position. So now you're looking at, you don't really need to have a strong offensive line on certain aspects. You really don't, because the deficiency of your offensive line will be covered by the speed and the ability of your quarterback. That's one.
And systems, too. And Justin Fields, in the Kyle Shanahan offense, he would fit like a glove.
Mm-hmm.
Fit like a glove. Mobile quarterback. And I'm not saying that Zach Wilson isn't a mobile quarterback. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence isn't a mobile quarterback. Mm-hmm. They're both not as mobile as Justin Fields.
You kind of have to be at this point in this NFL.
They're not. That's a fact. And because of his accuracy and his ability to do the things that both quarterbacks could do in Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, if you were the Jets or you were the Jacksonville Jaguars, would you... And I'm going to say this honestly, because we know Zach Wilson isn't going one. We know that. Right. We already know that now. Because Urban Meyer wasn't there at his pro day. Unless he's trying to throw a curveball and try to tell people that he's not drafting Zach Wilson, he winds up he does.
That would be the most Jaguars thing ever, to not go to somebody's pro day than draft him.
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. We've seen crazier things.
Yes, we have.
We've seen crazier things. But the outlandish stuff that we've seen Urban Meyer do so far as a coach of an NFL team, it shows. It shows. Yeah. You see what he did in his free agency market. Made no sense. Some of his pickups made no sense whatsoever. And then you look at his draft stock. Now, he has 10 draft picks this year. 10 of them. He's got 2 first-round draft picks this year. He's got 1 second round, 2 third rounds.
No, he's got 2 second rounds.
2 second rounds, 1 third round, and 2 fourth rounds. He's got a tremendous amount of draft stock this year. Now, his draft is going to mean everything now, that after what we've seen in free agency for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If he does not draft right, he sets Jacksonville back another 5-6 years. Because Urban Meyer's not going to be there for more than 2 years. Let's be honest. I don't want to hear about, well, it's not college football. He doesn't have to chase around the players. He doesn't have to go into people's homes and pitch the schools. He's got to deal with men.
Right.
He's got to, not boys, he's got to deal with men. He's got to deal
with the strategy. He's got to deal with the salary cap.
He's got to deal with that. Well, he doesn't have to deal with it because he's not the GM. But
but he still has to make a difference in terms of making those players good. And you don't have the riches of a bunch of 5-star recruits either.
To me, this year, this free agency market and this draft was so important for Urban Meyer to make a statement. And do I think that Urban Meyer made a statement? The only statement Urban Meyer made was, 1, he doesn't respect Zach Wilson. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. He doesn't respect his skills, which is ridiculous. Right. Okay, and 2, he didn't draft. I mean, he didn't bring in good free agents for his system. They didn't make any sense. I mean, if you look at the free agency market that he could have brought in, a Judon of the world and some of the defensive, they had one of the weakest. They had one of the weakest defenses and front sevens in the league last year. What makes him so sure that this front seven is going to hold up in a season where Jacksonville is expecting to be a competitive team, bringing in Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer?
Yeah, that's still not going to happen.
I mean, seriously. And if Urban Meyer has another 1 or 2 win season, is Urban Meyer going to want to stay there for another 2 or 3 years? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's going to run. He's going to flee. Because he's not going back to college football, as you know, with his heart problems. Right. So this is his last chance to coach a winner. And why would he pick Jacksonville? He had many chances. There were 2 other teams that were interested in Urban Meyer. He chose Jacksonville. For what reason, I don't know. It's not like he was a fan of Jacksonville like he was with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Right.
So it makes no sense. And looking at the quarterback class, and this is the best quarterback class that we're going to see for the next 3 years. They're saying next year and the year after are going to be terrible quarterback classes. Now, that's why San Francisco moved up, because they know that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't their guy. They know that. And the Jets know that Sam Darnold isn't their guy. That's why they didn't move out of the second pick. Because if they really wanted Sewell, they could have traded down 5 or 6 spots, or even at 6, like Miami did, and traded with Philadelphia, and still gotten Sewell at 6. Maybe not. Sewell would have probably
the Jets are
went
still
5.
going to be patient with the process, though, because of these other rumors, especially now with the 49ers moving up. That's going to trigger a lot of sense of urgency from anyone who wants to get a haul if they want a Wilson or a Fields, whoever they desire. Or even Lawrence if Fields goes 1. That's going to make it even crazier on the day of the draft, because I think most teams expect Jacksonville to take Lawrence at 1. But if they don't, then all of a sudden you could get the 4 or 5 first-round pick crazy offer.
I'm thrown off with this whole thing. I don't understand Urban Meyer. He went to every single quarterback's pro day but Zach Wilson. Now, maybe it's a statement. Maybe he's trying to tell people that he's going to try to pull a curveball. And with Baker Mayfield, now Baker, the Cleveland Browns did go to Baker Mayfield's pro day.
Right.
They did. And they did send scouts to go and see Zach Wilson. But if the head coach would not go over there to see this kid throw the ball, then obviously it's telling you that he's not drafting him. But he went to everybody else. What makes Jones better than Zach Wilson? What makes Trey Lance better than Zach Wilson? What makes Trevor Lawrence or even Justin Fields better than Zach Wilson? The answer is nothing.
And if you're going to do that, it implies that you think Zach Wilson is far off from either Lawrence or Fields, because now that they're picking number 1, obviously they're not going to take Jones or Lance, but it implies that he's far off, which really he's not. So that really makes no sense whatsoever. And again, your system is not an NFL system yet just because now you're an NFL coach. You're a longtime college coach. You still have to adjust to some modern trends in the NFL. You still have to adjust to different strategies, different routes, different game plans. It's a whole different thing where you don't know what your system's going to be. So to limit yourself like that with a quarterback that, who knows, maybe it is the best fit. We don't know.
Well, Zach Wilson also fits an NFL system better than any of these quarterbacks. He's played an NFL style of offense since he's come into college football. Trevor Lawrence isn't an NFL style offense.
Yes, he is.
But they're saying that Zach Wilson is practically, he can walk right in right now. Out of all the quarterbacks, he can walk right on team right now and start. They say Trevor Lawrence you could sit Trevor Lawrence out a couple of games so he could figure things out.
I don't think
Justin,
that's gonna happen.
and we know it's not going to happen because he's going to start, because Jacksonville's they're going to draft him at 1,
right,
and they're going to start the number 1 pick. And Justin Fields, he's never played in an NFL style of offense. He's never, and that's why it worries me about Justin Fields. That's the only thing that scares me about Justin Fields. Not his athletic ability, not his arm strength, not any of that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is in the best shape out of any of these quarterbacks. I mean, 230 pounds, can run a 4.4, 6'3", the ability that he has to make every single throw and every single run if he wants to as a mobile quarterback. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL now going into the season. So, I mean, the athletic ability that this kid has is remarkable, but he's not, he's looking at his second and third options on the field. They say he has a big problem with that. And going into the NFL, when you're looking as a head coach or a GM or an owner, you want to make sure that you're bringing in an exact type of player that's going to fit your system and is going to be a now ready quarterback coming into the league. I don't think Justin Fields is. That's why Justin Fields fits better with San Francisco, fits better with the Carolina Panthers than he does with the Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, again, going back to what you were saying with the first option thing, Zach Wilson obviously had to do a lot more of that, him playing for BYU, where you're not going to have the 5-star recruits around you like you would at Ohio State or you would at Clemson, which has always been great with giving both Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence great wide receivers. So he has that disadvantage in itself. Now, Fields, again, Ohio State, that wasn't the biggest strength with them, were their receivers, but they still faced competition that
this year the Big Ten was down. In previous years, the Big Ten has been good, but also top heavy at times. So he really hasn't had to rely on his first option as much. That doesn't mean he's necessarily incapable of it. And especially with the Jets coaching, which comes from that same Kyle Shanahan tree, and the 49ers coaching, they're good at not having to force the ball to one option either, where I think they'll be able to maneuver that with Fields no matter where he goes.
And that's why I think that no matter who the Jets get, and all the Jet fans sitting over here and saying, well, who do you think the Jets should get? Honestly, and I'll say it again, I think Justin Fields has the biggest and the most upside out of any of these quarterbacks. If Justin Fields figures things out and figures out how to throw to his second and third options, Justin Fields has the most talent out of any one of these quarterbacks. I think it's Justin Fields, 1, Zach Wilson, 2, Trevor Lawrence, 3, Trey Lance, 4, Jones, 5. That's what I think. Now, I could be wrong. That's just what I've seen over the last couple of years. What scares me about Trevor Lawrence, and I will say it again, Trevor Lawrence in the big game in the last 2 years has not shown up. He's not shown up. You're talking about Clemson being one of the best teams in the nation, in the ACC, not a hard division. It's not the SEC, right. It's the ACC. And Trevor Lawrence, honestly, did not show up against Alabama in the national championship the year before. He didn't. He lost. Well, LSU. He did not show up against LSU the year before. He got outplayed by Joe Burrows, who was the number 1 pick the year before that. Then you look at this year, he played against a guy that Justin Fields, who wanted to prove himself, wanted to make a statement because everybody thought. Meanwhile, Justin Fields was the best quarterback prospect going into that college class. He was the best. He was a 5-tool, 5-star player, just like Trevor Lawrence. He was better, and they come from the same area too. He was the better player, and all of a sudden, because Trevor Lawrence won his national championship his freshman year, Trevor Lawrence was a generational type of talent. I think Justin Fields is a generational type of talent, and I think Zach Wilson is a generational type of talent. Who would have believed or even argue that you would have 3 quarterbacks that can go 1, 2, and 3 that are generational type of talents? The last time we've seen that, I don't remember.
2004 is probably the closest.
No, because honestly, that wasn't 1, 2, 3. I mean,
because Ben was later. Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't 1, 2, 3. I mean, just even the class with Sam Darnold, with Rosen and Darnold and Allen.
Yeah,
it wasn't 1, 2, 3.
Right, Saquon was in between.
It wasn't 1, 2, 3. Baker Mayfield. It wasn't 1, 2, 3.
Right.
This could be the first time that we've ever seen 3 quarterbacks that could be generational franchise quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3. That is amazing by itself. That's amazing.
Snug says, since the quarterbacks all of each have similar skill sets, the Jets should draft whichever quarterback hates the peeve the most. We need to be as united as possible in the greater New York area.
Oh, well, there you go. Hashtag ban the beef. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, more NFL conversation. We are going to talk about the NFL draft, which is now 29 days away. Tomorrow will be 29 days away. What do some of these teams need to do when it comes to discussing who they should go after in the first round, second and third round? To the wide receivers, who Jamar Chase had his pro day today. What we thought about Jamar Chase and where do we think he falls in the top 10? Devontae Smith, who everybody says could be or should be the number 1 wide receiver in this draft class. And how about this? Waddle, who everybody forgets. A lot of people think is more talented than Smith. When we come back, we are going to argue what teams need to do in the first round to solidify their team in 2021, 2022, here on Below the Mic.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, this is Below the Mic. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Mr. Tidy Whitey Man himself, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can call us at 631-500-0548 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app. Yes, iOS, WWSRN, or Android. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Could you believe the weather outside? It goes from sunny to cloudy to snowy to rainy to cold to hot. I can't stand the moisture in the air. And now that I had my surgery and I have a piece of metal in my neck, I feel everything, Speedy. I felt everything. I knew rain was coming today as soon as I stepped outside. I knew it. I knew it. So to me, I'm so uncomfortable now, and I'm going to have to get used to this now because of everything that's happened to me, and now with the surgery, I'm going to have to get used to the different weathers that happen, patterns. Well, I guess weather patterns that happen here in New York. But I love New York.
It's very unpredictable, so we never know if there's a direct pattern.
Oh, I'm just thrown off, and I have been very, very sick over the last couple of days, and it has nothing to do with my surgery. It's just getting used to the overbearing feeling of my. Believe it or not, your head is very heavy. Okay, and not because I have big brains. Okay, because I probably don't, and a lot of people will probably say I have not much of a brain, but. Your head is very heavy, and as you get older, your head it gets heavier and heavier as you age, and your body parts get bigger. Your nose gets bigger, your ears get bigger, your mouth and your tongue gets bigger. That's true. It's true. And unfortunately, I'm getting to that age. I'm 38, going to be 39 in this month in April. And I'm not getting any younger. And I just feel like it's overbearing how much weight is sitting on my shoulders. But that's just me. I got to get used to it. And eventually when I can get back into the gym and strengthen my shoulders, my everything, I'll be in a better situation. But I want to get back into the NFL. And I want to talk about some of the things that some teams need to do in the first round to solidify what they did in free agency. So, Speedy, when we look at the top 10 picks, and let's go into the top 10. Okay, Jacksonville, we know, is Trevor Lawrence. We kind of figure Zach Wilson is going to the Jets. Justin Fields, let's just predict Justin Fields goes 3 to San Francisco. Trey Lance, where does he go, and does he fit with that team and that organization?
Atlanta is number 4. So, there's a lot of scenarios that could go into that. I still think they need more defensively more than anything else. They could trade Matt Ryan. They could trade Julio Jones. We've heard rumors about that. But, again, I think they need so much on defense where they really have to focus on that. I think they're in more of a trade-back scenario to maybe a team trying to trade up for Trey Lance. Maybe that's the Patriots. Maybe that's Carolina. I don't know if that would happen in division. But maybe one of those teams trade up for Trey Lance.
Patriots are going to have to give up away. You're talking about 4 or 5 first-round draft picks to move all the way 15 to all the way to 4.
Right. So that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's what I think Atlanta's going to try for. Whether they get that offer or not is another question. If they don't, then they might have to just stick to just taking a defensive player, and they need pass rush, they need corners, but there's really no pass rushers worth taking at that time. Maybe they go with a corner at number 4, but they need a lot on defense because they don't need the receivers either, unless they trade Julio Jones. Then obviously that changes everything. Maybe they get getting Smith after all that or something like that, or Jamar Chase. So I think that's the direction they go in. If they obviously trade Matt Ryan, then they'll have to take Lance.
I think that when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they're looking for a quarterback, knowing that this class is probably going to be the best quarterback class for another 2 years, maybe even 3. You have to solidify your quarterback position, knowing that Matt Ryan's 37 years old and he's only getting older, and he's starting to tail down. He's starting to not be that quarterback. And if I were as the Atlanta Falcons, I'd try to move a guy like Matt Ryan, maybe to the Bears, a team that's wanting to win now. Right. Teams that are ready to win now. And I'm not saying the Bears are ready to win now, but maybe they think they do. Maybe they think they are because they bring in Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's more of a backup quarterback now in his career. Bringing in a Matt Ryan, he's still a starting quarterback. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So I think that's good. We know what Cincinnati needs to do. Yep. They need to solidify their offensive line, protect Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows last year, the reason why he tore his MCL and ACL is because he had no protection. They added some offensive line help, a tackle in the offseason. They need to add and solidify the left tackle position and move the other guy to the right tackle position, and that's Williams to the right tackle position. I don't think Williams is a left tackle. I think he's more of a right tackle. So I think that makes a lot of sense for Cincinnati. Miami, it's so interesting where Miami is sitting now. After moving back to 6, went from 12 to 6 and solidified themselves with all those draft picks. I think Miami needs a wide receiver. But here's the thing. Being that they're sitting at 6, there's a lot of weaknesses in Miami. And Miami still has a tremendous amount of draft stock. They still have 2 first-round draft picks in this year's draft class. They still can get Waddle. Where are they drafting? Where's their...
They're number 6, and it's the Steelers pick.
18. They're 18.
Oh, no, the Steelers pick was last year, yeah, so it's their pick, yeah.
They're 18. So they're picking 18. They could probably get Waddle at 18.
Yeah, I could see that, because especially with the trends lately with a lot of receivers falling in the
drafts, even last year we saw with Lamb, with Judy, a lot of those guys that were supposed to be top 10 prospects, and they fell into the teens. We could definitely see that with Waddle, who there is a lot of question marks still in his game. If the Dolphins want to go with a tackle, maybe they miss out on Sewell, they take the Northwestern tackle Slater, who's gotten a lot of hype. He had a nice pro day as well, where he could be a top 10 pick now. They could end up going with Waddle after that. And I've always said they're going to go with Smith for chemistry with Tua, but they could also do the same thing with Waddle too, if that's the direction they want to go in, because the Dolphins are still more of a 2 tight end, that type of format where they're not going to play a lot of receivers either.
You know what's so interesting about Miami sitting at 6? If I were Miami, I'd trade down even more and solidify themselves with more draft picks. I really think they made that trade to get Deshaun Watson. That makes a lot of sense why they wanted to get that draft capital, because to get Deshaun Watson, if he gets out of this situation with the therapist and being sued for 20 people suing him for hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't know what they're suing him for, but if he gets out of that, Miami fits perfectly like a glove with him. With the draft stock that they have and the draft capital that they have, they can make a move. But right there in Miami's probably knowing that they went from 12 to 6, they're going to draft at that spot. Jamar Chase would be the perfect fit with them. I know everybody says Devontae Smith is the guy that, he fits with Tua. He played with Tua all those years. I really think that Jamar Chase, especially his pro day today, running a 4.38, I would say Miami would get the best wide receiver at number 6, Speedy.
I love Jamar Chase. I was saying last year he was even better than a lot of the receivers last year, which everyone said that was the best receiver draft, which has turned out to be so far. What we've seen
16
recently.
top picks.
Yeah, so I could see where that happens. I just think with Tua already there, the connection is still strong with Smith in terms of going there. Now, if Smith surprisingly goes another spot, like I said, if Atlanta somehow throws a curveball or a team maybe trades up for it, then maybe you could look at Chase. But there's also rumors the Bengals, if they don't take Sewell, could end up taking Chase to reunite with Burrow too. So which scenario is going to end up happening?
Sewell's going 5.
I agree. That's most likely to happen just because
generational offensive tackle.
Yeah, the Bengals have a good history with taking tackles in the first round, or at least earlier in the first round, and making them work. So I see that being the case too. I think with Miami being such a bad quarterback franchise for a while, I think they're going to do everything they can to cater what Tua does the most, and because a lot of it has to do with now systems and familiarity too, even just more than talent.
I think when you look at 6 and 7, I believe that the 2 best wide receivers are going to be drafted at 6 and 7. Mm-hmm. If Jamar Chase goes 6, Smith goes 7. If Smith goes 6, Chase goes 7. Yeah. I believe that. I think the Lions are going to be looking for a wide receiver, solidify and help Jared Goff out over there, because they don't really have a number 1 wide receiver anymore. Kenny Golladay goes to the Giants, overpaid, and was very smart that they let Kenny Golladay go, because Kenny Golladay is not worth $76 million. He isn't. Carolina, they need a quarterback, and I think Jones will be here. Now, does Jones fit, or Trey Lance fit this position? Now, if Jones goes, and a lot of people believe that Jones is a guy that San Francisco is very interested in. Now, I think they're crazy. If they pass up on Trey Lance and Justin Fields to draft Jones, it makes absolutely no sense. But there are stories coming out that they really like Jones's pro day. He had 2 pro days, not 1, but 2 pro days at throwing the ball. So, and he ran pretty good in his 40. I think he ran a 4.7, which is not bad. I mean, he doesn't look like a very athletic quarterback.
No, he's more of a pocket type quarterback. He can throw on the run a little bit, but it's not a big strength.
He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks coming from college football. But Carolina needs a quarterback, and I do believe that they're going to try to do everything in their possible contingencies to try to go after Deshaun Watson. But I think Deshaun Watson, because of everything that's going on right now, I think they're going to stay far, far away from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to get traded before the draft at this point, because I think there's just too many, right now, conflicting allegations. In terms of the Panthers, they could definitely go for Lance. I could see Matt Rule trying to take a developmental type quarterback who's played 3 years with North Dakota State, so he has a good track record there. Whereas Mac Jones, I think, only played 1 year, so I think that he's going to take a little more time to develop. Even though he played at Alabama, he's still going to take a little more to develop. If they don't go a quarterback, they could definitely be a trade back scenario, because they also need a lot on defense.
They're not trading back. They're not trading back at 8. You cannot see Carolina. This is Matt Rule's real first-round draft pick. This is the first round draft pick he's going to have the opportunity to draft from. And I think that with everything that we've seen, Matt Rule is going to try to find a quarterback. Now, if Trey Lance is sitting there, that would be the best possible thing that could happen to Carolina, that Trey Lance is sitting there. But I don't think he's going to be sitting there. I think Trey Lance is going to go forward to Atlanta, unless Carolina moves up with Atlanta and trades to go up from Carolina goes to 4 and Atlanta goes to 8, and they're going to have to give up at least a first-round draft pick to do that. I could see Carolina doing that. I could. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think Jones would be the guy. I think Jones would be the guy sitting there at 8. If Jones doesn't get drafted by Carolina, I could see Denver drafting him. Because I don't know if Denver believes in Locke. And I think being that Sam Darnold is right now being dangled around right now and free, being that he is a quarterback, a young quarterback, and could be a franchise quarterback, I think a lot of teams are going to be looking at Sam Darnold if they can't get the quarterback that they want in the top 10 to make a trade with the Jets sometime in this draft. To give up a second and a fourth, or maybe a late first-round draft pick, quite possibly could happen. But where do you think Denver goes?
I think the Broncos are going to stay away from a quarterback for the sole purpose of they're never the team that takes the flashy players a lot of the time. They took a receiver last year in Judy because he fell in their lap and wasn't supposed to. But beyond that, they tended to draft pretty straightforward. I think they'll stick with drafting defense. You still have Vic Fangio there, a more defensive-minded coach. And as Locke played last year, he was also banged up with injury. He had the whole COVID issue where they had to play the receiver at quarterback against the Saints. So it was just a lot of weird circumstances, too. I think they're going to ride out Locke one more year. But again, I could also see the Sam Darnold scenario, too, because the Broncos could trade
John Elway loved
round picks,
Sam Darnold.
Second
loved
round picks.
Him.
Yeah, they could have.
Even though he's not part of the organization, trust me, John Elway is still. He still has say with that organization.
He still has influence.
Yes.
And I think being that he didn't get Darnold at the time, I think that was the only quarterback he was going to take. I know there was rumors that said Josh Allen, but I think Darnold was the only one they were going to take if he fell to 5 in that particular draft. They ended up taking Bradley Chubb instead. But I think they'll just stick with defense for now. They tend to not be flashy. Maybe they trade for Darnold with their second round pick, number 9, in that round with a 4th or something like that included. And that's the direction they'll go in with quarterback. I think they stick with defense. They'll maybe draft a corner at number 9. Maybe they go Surtain or Horn or something like that.
And I know we have a lot of Cowboy fans that watch the show, including the Beeve, that will sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Because to me, if Dallas doesn't go after a corner at this position, they're idiots. They have such a deficiency in their secondary right now. I don't care if you brought Neal in, and Neal never stays healthy. He's a fantastic safety. They might not even be using him at the safety position. They might be moving him. They might be using him as a linebacker. I've been hearing a middle linebacker or outside linebacker.
Well, they can use him as a box safety at times. I just think they have enough linebackers. They have nothing really in that secondary, though.
I think Surtain, certain is the guy from Alabama. He's the guy that fits. I know you think, what's his name again?
I like Horn and Farley more, but obviously Farley's going to fall now because of his back injury.
Yes.
So I like Horn more, but I think the Surtain pick is because he played with Trayvon Diggs at the same time at Alabama, and they drafted Diggs last year.
Yep, and I think that solidifies your corner position for the next, 5 years. And then you have to clean up and maybe go after safety in the second or third round to help out over there in the middle of the field. But their deficiencies lie in their secondary. It's been their deficiencies. I think they overpaid Jalen Smith. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Cowboys bring in another linebacker one way or another because of the injuries that they've been dealing with over the last couple of years with Esch and obviously Jalen Smith. But Dallas needs the secondary and the New York Giants, and I will say this, I wouldn't be surprised if Pitt is sitting there, the Giants draft Pitt. And I know you're a Giant fan, so
I would love that if they took Pitts. I'm hoping one of these receivers fall, but I doubt it's going to happen. But I would love if they took Pitts.
Well, Waddle will be there.
I don't really want Waddle. I'd rather take Pitts at that point, or I would rather go either offensive line with Slater or linebacker with Micah Parsons. I would rather go there. And Parsons ran a 4.39 at his pro day too. That's very
They're
impressive.
saying Parsons is not even the best defensive player coming out of Penn State. That's what they're saying, especially his pro day. He didn't even run better than the other guy running in the same pro day.
Yeah, but he's still going to be a higher draft pick than their other linebacker.
He's small. A lot of people say that Parsons should have been a running back.
Well, yeah, but I think the linebacker position is also getting smaller too, so I wouldn't worry about as much of that. Again, I would probably consider that. Now, they don't need him as the number 1 guy either because they have Martinez there already, but he's to complement what Martinez is, being more faster, whereas Martinez is more of the bulky run-stopping type linebacker.
He looked better than Parsons did in his pro day. I'm just letting you know
which
what
will
people
raise
are
his
saying.
stock. Yeah, which will raise his stock. It's not going to raise it to where the Giants are going to take him at 11. It's not going to raise it to where Parsons, barring any injury, is going to go after him, though. So those are the three things I definitely could see the Giants doing. I'm hoping a receiver falls. I'm seeing all these mock drafts with the receivers falling, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And if Pitt doesn't get drafted by the Giants or the Cowboys, Pitt will be drafted by Philadelphia. There's a foregone conclusion. You know what they are when it comes to tight ends. They love tight ends. We don't even know where what's his name again? Ertz is going to be. There's stories coming out that he might go to Buffalo. There are stories coming out he might go to Denver. I mean, we hear the Colts are another team that he could go to, and they drafted a tight end a couple of years ago. So I do believe they're always a tight end heavy type of team. They love their tight ends, and Pitt could be a wide receiver. He's more of a wide receiver / tight end. I think he's more compared to a wide receiver than a tight end in the league, even though he's a good blocker. But also Waddle's there for Philadelphia. If Philadelphia, they need wide receiving help. They also need, in my eyes, corner help. That's what they need. Right. So those are two positions I could see Philadelphia going. Los Angeles, quickly.
Chargers. I mean, they lost a couple offensive linemen in the offseason.
We'll do the top 20 here.
Yeah, they lost a couple offensive linemen, so they maybe go Slater, especially with Balaga being injury prone. They're another team that could also go with some defensive help, but again, I don't know if they really need.
They lost
corners.
Ingram.
Yeah, they lost Ingram. There's really no pass rusher I think worth taking at this point. They could also be another team that trades back too, because the Chargers are actually very talented. They just they need a lot of.
You want everybody to trade. Why would you want to trade back? And here's the reason why I wouldn't trade back in this draft. Not anymore. After the top 10, I wouldn't trade back. And here's the reason why. You don't know what entails in the draft now. After the first and second round, these third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round, we're going to see players that didn't even have a season last year. They didn't even play. These guys could have been, you're talking about third, fourth, fifth round talents being first round talents because they didn't have much of a season. So these guys are going into the draft not knowing what they could have done their senior years or their sophomore years or their junior years. So that's the throwback on this. And to me, that's what makes this draft so interesting. Why would any team try to trade back knowing that you could still get steals in the later rounds?
I think, though, too, the Chargers have always been one of those teams that are, one, very injury-prone with their star players, and number two, they lack a lot of depth. They have good talent in starting areas, but they lack depth where I could see that helping out if they get extra seconds or extra thirds or something like that. Because they're not going to get extra firsts trading at 13 unless some team comes from the end of the first round to get a quarterback or something like that. But still, Snug says, question, will Worldwide Sports Radio be doing a draft show? Yes, we will. It will be served as Miller's Ale House.
No.
Probably not. It's not in a pandemic.
What we're going to actually do, if the fans don't know, I'm going to let everybody know. We're doing a draft show. We're going to have all different types of guys and girls from all the different shows of our network. We're going to have some special guests that are going to come on the show on a live feed. We're going to go through the first round doing a show like we did last year, almost 3 hours. We did it with Anthony Anderozzi.
It was more like 5 hours.
We had Brandon Jacobs on the show last year, and we had Eric Coleman. And we will work on bringing some guests and some ex-NFL players, maybe ex-Giants and Jets, to come and join us and do a show with us. So stay tuned for that. We're working on it. But, yes, we're going to have a draft party. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Minnesota.
Not a lot on defense. They could also go O-line, too, if Slater falls somehow, because, again...
Slater will fall.
Again, there's not a lot of teams where it's their biggest need, but again, offensive line, like we saw last year, is being very highly prioritized more. So if he falls, I could see Slater going there. Otherwise, they're going to draft a corner, too, I would imagine.
Anthony Barr screwed the Minnesota Vikings. He screwed them. And for the Jets, they're licking their chops because after the season Anthony Barr had last year, with the injuries and the season that he played well in the second half. The first half, he was horrendous. Anthony Barr wasn't the money that he got. He got $80 million.
Anthony Barr got hurt last year, which didn't help that contract either, and really hurt a lot of what they wanted on defense. Snug says, any chance of a guest appearance of Vinny the Mush or Jeff from Tampa? I think there's a good chance of Jeff. Vinny, I would give it maybe a 2% chance.
I don't even know who Vinny the Mush is. Who the hell is Vinny? Oh, Vinny Rubo, no.
So calls him the Bush because he jinxes everything.
Yeah, well, Vinny Ruba doesn't know what the hell he's talking about anyway, so it wouldn't even matter. The New England Patriots, what do?
Anything with offense, whether it's a quarterback, whether they go receiver, we'll see. Because they brought back Cam Newton, so it's not an obvious thing to draft a quarterback, but again, it's
not in the first round.
No, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I could see them going with Waddle.
Unless they move up and try to get Trey Lance.
I could see them going with Waddle if he ends up falling there, if Philly doesn't take him or something like that, or the Giants don't take him.
They're going to go after your guy, the corner.
You think they go after Horn?
Yes, because I think they're going to trade, what's his name again?
You think they trade Gilmore?
I think they trade Gilmore, not in the draft. I think they're going to trade Gilmore before the season starts.
Yeah, that's definitely a scenario to be considered. I think if the Patriots are going to go defense, they may be the first one to take one of those pass rushers, one of those versatile guys. The kid from Michigan, I can never pronounce his name, who played with Chase Vinovich, who they drafted in the third round a couple of years ago. Maybe they do that for chemistry because Bill Belichick loves the hybrids. And they drafted another linebacker too from Michigan, so maybe they go there if they go defense. But I think most likely they'll either go Slater or they'll go with a receiver.
I think they're going with corner. I really do. I think they're going to go with corner. I think they're going to replace Gilmore. And being that they land in 15, if they can't move up to get a quarterback, I don't think they will unless Trey Lance is sitting at 15, which he won't be. I'd be very surprised. Because after Carolina, I think they have a chance. Dallas don't need a cowboy, a quarterback. Dallas don't need a cowboy. Dallas
they don't need that either.
Dallas don't need a quarterback. The Giants don't need a quarterback. Philadelphia don't need a quarterback. The Chargers don't need a quarterback. Minnesota might. And then there's the Patriots. So I think that if somehow Trey Lance is sitting there, I say Trey Lance gets drafted by the New England Patriots.
I also wouldn't rule the Eagles out just with the new coach, too, because we always see coaches like they want their own quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's smart, but I'm just saying I wouldn't rule the Eagles out because they've done weirder things.
We'll do the top 15 today, and then next week on the first show of... Obviously, let's go because we're not. I don't know what we're going to do.
16 would be the even split, so let's finish with Arizona.
Why don't we just go through this whole thing because we're going to have different content next week with the new show. So Arizona, what do you got?
Arizona, they could either go defense or O-line. They're a good team. I could see that maybe trades up for Slater, too, if he falls, because he's supposed to be...
What's up with you and this Slater kid?
Because he's rising a lot in these rankings between the way he played at the end of the season and the way he played at his pro day. And also, again, the way the tackle trends have been. Teams prioritize that offensive line more, so they could either go that direction or they could go defense. Maybe that's a spot for Horn, too.
They don't need defense. And they do need a corner, so
that's
losing Peterson...
Yeah, that's a spot where Horn could go if the Patriots don't take him or somebody else doesn't take him before that, because they lost Patrick Peterson. And the Cardinals always love those physical type corners too.
Yeah, and Horn is supposedly supposed to be the best corner in this year's draft class. I think also Horn would be a good fit there. I don't know if he'll be there, but he would be a good fit. Also, there's not a lot of weakness on the Arizona Cardinals. There really isn't. Right. Defensively, they're pretty much besides the secondary and adding a number one corner, their safety position is filled, their linebacker position is filled, their front seven, adding J.J. Watt is filled. Really, maybe a little bit of deficiencies in their offensive line, solidifying their offensive line would make a lot of sense. But all in all, I think that Arizona, they don't have any deficiencies or weaknesses. So I would say corner would be a good fit, and maybe an offensive lineman, like you said, Speedy.
You know what's interesting too? If somehow the Giants or the Eagles go crazy and don't draft Pitts, that could be a spot for Pitts too, because they could use a tight end too.
The Los Angeles Raiders, Speedy, who do you got?
They need everything on defense imaginable, but they also need O-line because they decided to purge everything. So,
well, Brown, they decided to purge Brown, and they traded away one of their guards.
Hudson, they cut Gabe Jackson, yeah. So they're doing everything. So I don't know what they're gonna do. The smart thing would be to do defense, but I said their draft was the worst draft of any draft last year. So I don't know what they're gonna do at this point. They should draft defense, though.
I think they're going to go after an offensive lineman. I think the Texas A&M kid or Texas kid might fall to them. Right. So I figure, well, what is the kid's name?
I always forget.
It doesn't matter. Miami Dolphins, 18. Where do they go?
They're either going to go offensive skill player if they didn't do that at 6.
I think they go in defense, pass rusher. If there's a good linebacker, there's a couple of good linebackers in this draft class. I say they go after a good tackling machine over there for Miami. Who's the kid? What's
the Notre Dame linebacker?
Yeah, who's the linebacker?
It's Jeremiah Ochewo something. I forget.
Yeah, that's who I think. Well, a lot of people think the Jets are going to draft in 23.
Okay.
If he falls.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I think he would be a good fit for Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami's still going to target more offense, whether it's line or skill players. If they take a receiver at 6, maybe they don't go double up on it. But again, it wouldn't surprise me too if Waddle does fall. Why not double up with Smith and Waddle? Have everything go over to then you have that to go along with Gesicki, who's a pretty good tight end, and a solid offensive line that played last year. And now we have a caller. Oh, Eric.
All right, what's going on, Eric?
Okay, I have a scenario, and I want to ask both of you if you think it is a possibility or if it's not a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the scenario. Do you think the Jets can take either Justin Fields or Wilson, or with number 2, okay, and then, okay, package to the Panthers Darnold and their number 23 for their number 8 spot? Do you think that's possible?
No. As good as
it's going to happen. You don't think,
no,
you don't think that?
No. Because 23, moving all the way from 23 to 8 and trading
With
Darnold, that's not enough.
With Darnold included.
It's not enough, and here's the reason why. Darnold, being with all the injuries that Darnold's had the last 3 years and how the Jets have downplayed Darnold's worth, I think that the only way they can do that is if they add another first-round draft pick in the future to move up to 8. If they're willing to give up Seattle's draft pick that they got next year, because Seattle's going to stink this year, especially if they lose Russell Wilson. That pick that they get from Jamal Adams could be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick from Seattle, especially if Russell Wilson runs himself out of there before the season starts. So the Jets could be winners.
So let me ask you a
next
question.
year.
Do you think it's possible? Okay, what would you be happy if the Jets traded their 23, Darnold, and a number 2 from next year to the Panthers, and then they ended up getting the Panthers spot on top of getting a number 2 pick? Would you be happy?
I'm trying to think what the benefit of the scenario would be for the Jets, though, too, because
they can end up with an offensive lineman too, like Sewell.
No, Sewell is
I
going
don't think
5.
Sewell's gonna be
He's
there.
going 5. He's going to Cincinnati.
And if he doesn't go there, he'll probably go to Miami.
The Jets are going to get another offensive lineman in the second round. They have Leatherwood that's going to fall to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good offensive linemen that you can draft, especially in the second round. And the Jets have, I think they have 2 second-round draft picks. They have 1 second-round
I think
draft
they have
pick.
2/3.
They have 2/3. So I think that the Jets have a very good chance to draft an offensive lineman. And remember, they still have Clarkson, right? His name's Clarkson?
Cameron Clark, yep.
Yeah, Cameron Clark, that they drafted last year, who a lot of people think could be a guard for the Jets in the future, right next to Mekhi Beckham.
Yeah.
Now, I know you favor Fields, okay, because of his pure athleticism. I mean, he's got the better resume as far as playing actual good competition, okay? But do you think that the Zach Wilson argument, do you think someone can come and argue to you and say, hey, Zach Wilson didn't have those stud receivers that Ohio State had, and he didn't have all those good players that Justin Fields had? Do you think someone can argue the other way and say that, argue Wilson's case?
I think people are arguing it right now. Right now, when you look at Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields, I think going into this year, Trevor Lawrence had the most competition because he played the most games. Justin Fields beat Trevor Lawrence in the bowl game and went to the national championship. The only reason why people don't realize how good Zach Wilson is that 1 good year to Trevor Lawrence's 2 or 3 and to Justin Fields' 2. That's the argument right now. Do I think Zach Wilson has the talent to be better than both of them? I do. I think he could be talented.
It's a possibility.
Yes.
And you know what? I liked what you said to me the other day, okay? I mean, look at Darnold had an unbelievable pro day. A pro day.
In the rain.
I mean, a pro day. He did it all in the rain. I mean, I was watching it. I rewatched it the other day. He was throwing bombs in the rain, right on target. So, I mean, I'm a little concerned, wondering how Zach Wilson would do under pressure. Although I heard he's a very competitive person because he comes from a very competitive family.
I will say this, Eric. I've listened to a ton of scouts say this, that if Sam Darnold was coming in this draft, that more than likely all these scouts have said they would take Zach Wilson over Sam Darnold because he has more upside than Sam Darnold ever did. So right then and there, the Jets are looking at Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. When you hear all the different scouts, and I've heard 6 scouts say that Zach Wilson has the more upside than Sam Darnold did coming out of the draft, it tells me that Sam Darnold wasn't as talented as Zach Wilson is coming into this year's draft. So
it's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, I honestly think that if I was to rate the arm talent of Fields versus Zach Wilson, I really would. I really like the way that ball's coming out of Zach Wilson's hand, man. I really do.
Well,
I mean, that ball effortlessly.
Did you watch Justin Fields' pro day and how amazing he was?
Oh my, he was amazing. But I will say that as far as footwork in the pocket, I was more impressed with Zach Wilson's footwork moving around with the ball.
He has the best footwork out of all the quarterbacks.
His footwork was amazing.
That's what makes, but also he has the fastest release. That was the thing. He had an incredible release, and the number that I'm very excited about is his stats since they started these stats for 20 plus yards passing completion, the passing completion percentage. Past 20 yards, since they started that stat back in 2011, Zach Wilson has the highest completion percentage of all college quarterbacks since 2000, since the stat started. That, I mean, even though he's playing even though he's playing teams that aren't that great, but he's throwing to nobody. He's throwing nobody. Nobody else from BYU had a pro day besides Zach Wilson. Nobody. So, because nobody from BYU is going to make the NFL except Zach
Wilson.
Man.
Listen, I think we can argue I think we can go both ways with the argument with Zach Wilson versus Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields also has a lot of upside to him too.
The most upside out of all of them. He has the most upside out of all of them because
I'll tell you right now, he has more. He has that physique that you want in a quarterback that can take the hits. That's durable. He looks like he looks, and he showed it. He's a very durable quarterback.
Just think about this. Trevor Lawrence is 6'6". He's 225. Okay. Zach Wilson 6'2", 6'3". He's 215. Justin Fields is 6'3", 230. 230. And he's muscular. He's the most athletic one out of all of them. The guy is in tremendous shape, and he ran a 4.4. I mean, it's a quarterback.
And by the way, that 4.4. So excuse me for cutting you off. That 4.4 was also with a stumble. He had a little bit of a stumble when he was running, and if he didn't stumble a little bit, that 4.44 probably would have been more like a 4.39.
He's that fast, and he is as fast as Lamar Jackson is. He's more accurate. He's got better arm strength.
More durable.
Oh, the kid's going to be fantastic. He's going to be a fantastic pro. The question is, when you look at these three positions, the first, the second, and the third pick, and you compare, all three of them are going for a quarterback. Who do you pick at number 2? Because
I know you personally edge out Justin Fields because you like the fact that he's played better competition. Speedster, what do you have to say?
Hold on before Speedy says this. Let's say Justin Fields goes 1. Who do you draft? Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence at 2?
Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Trevor Lawrence. The only reason I'm going Trevor Lawrence is because I like that 6'6". I mean, if you're 6'6", you really can see right over the heads of all those offensive linemen with no problem. You have better vision at 6'6" than you do at 6'2.5". So I would. That's not going to happen. No, we know Lawrence is going.
I don't know about that because I saw Urban Meyer, Zach Wilson in Zach Wilson's pro day. Urban Meyer did not show up. Urban Meyer. The only pro day he didn't show up to when it comes to quarterbacks was Zach Wilson's. That's it. It would be
interesting. It would be interesting if Zach Wilson, if Justin Fields goes number 1, that would be very interesting. What do you do then, Errol? Who do you take then, Zach Wilson, or you have to take Trevor Lawrence?
Speedy asked me this. We were talking before we started the show. I go with Trevor Lawrence. Because
I almost think it's a give me.
Because if Trevor Lawrence goes to San Francisco, John Lynch looks like a superstar. He looks like a superstar. You're talking about the generational quarterback in this class, going all the way from 1 to 3, just like the Jets got Sam Darnold, who a lot of people thought was a generational type of talent. I just think that if Trevor Lawrence is sitting there at 2, the Jet fans would be very upset if they didn't draft Trevor Lawrence.
What upsets me a little bit about the whole Sam Darnold situation is that if he was in the right environment, he is a pretty good pass action quarterback. He's very good with the the play action. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, how do you think he would have played in this new offensive system with a heavy play action?
You know what I think? I think the Jets are making a mistake. That's what I've said this over and over again. I think the Jets are making a mistake, not giving this kid a chance to be successful with a better team around him. But you want to know something? It's a hit or miss, because if you bring in Zach Wilson and he wins and Sam Darnold goes somewhere and he wins somewhere else, you're not gonna take shots at the organization because Joe Douglas wanted to go with his guy, not with Mike McCagnon's guy. But if Sam Darnold turns out to be a franchise quarterback and wins a Super Bowl or 2, and they don't win with Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, or Justin Fields, they will be killed forever. They will be killed forever. So
yeah, let's just hope. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But listen, it's been great talking to you two, the dynamic duo of Errol and the special speedster. So,
yes. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you soon.
You got it. Enjoy, and we'll see. Let's go Jets.
All right, there it is. Eric Martini, a good friend of mine, big Jet fan, loves his Jets, gave you his insight. We're not really going to get into the NBA. Let's finish up with the NFL first round and what we think.
I think we're on Washington.
We're on Washington now. You know, it's very interesting with Washington. I think Washington, they're an up-and-coming defensive team. I think they're going to be as good a defense as any defense in the league going into this season. I think that because of the quarterback, you don't know who your future quarterback is. I think that Sam Darnold would fit like a glove over there. He would be perfect for Washington. The quarterback of the future for that organization. You bring Ryan Fitzpatrick, who could absolutely teach him and train him. I think it would be great for Sam Darnold to be a backup next year to Ryan Fitzpatrick in the beginning of the season, slowly move gradually as the starting quarterback. I think that's where they should go. I think trading Sam Darnold for that pick would be something that stands out.
That's reasonable, yeah.
I could see Sam Darnold going for the number 19th pick to Washington. That's what I would think.
Yeah, it's obvious they need
a quarterback.
Yeah, it's obvious they need offense in some capacity, no matter what. Whether they take the quarterback here
or a wide receiver.
Yeah,
Waddle.
Waddle could be somebody they could go. Maybe they start getting into the 4th and 5th guys with the wide receivers, guys like Rashad Bateman and Rondale Moore, guys like that might be later first-round picks because they definitely need it. McLaurin is a nice player. He's obviously a number 1, and he's been very productive considering all the circumstances.
Fantastic player.
But they don't have much beyond that. Their next best player is probably Antonio Gibson, who's more of a hybrid-type player. So they really need that other type of guy. They signed Curtis Samuels, another hybrid, which really didn't make sense with Gibson there. And maybe they go after a receiver. Maybe, again, they could also go offensive line too. Maybe they take Leatherwood at this spot. There's definitely a lot of options, but offense seems obvious with the way their defense played.
Yeah, I'd say I would do everything I can to try to make that trade with the Jets for Sam Darnold. Washington needs a quarterback. He's going to be 24 this year. He's still very, very young. Put him behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. And maybe at 19, maybe it's too high. Maybe Washington trading down, trying to get more for that pick at 19, and then taking Sam Darnold. Maybe you trade down to, let's say, I don't know, Cleveland or Baltimore, or maybe the Saints, and then trading the Saints pick to the Jets for Sam Darnold. I think that wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think initially that's what Miami did to get Josh Rosen when I think they got an extra picks from the Saints. They got an extra 5th or something out of it, so they ended up making it work, even though they still traded a good amount at that time. 2
for the price of 1. You get the pick that you want. You trade out of that pick. You get the 28th pick, and you get another pick from the Saints. I don't know what you get. Moving all the way from 19 to 28.
Yeah, you'll probably maybe get a 4.
You probably get a 4 or a 3, or maybe a 2. I don't know.
I doubt you'll get a 2.
Why not? You're moving all the way from 28 to 19.
Because it's later in the first round. I don't think they're as valuable.
20, the Bears.
Offense, they need a lot of offense no matter what. Their defense is, it got worse, but it's still fine. They could go for a tackle. Maybe this is where Leatherwood ends up going, or a receiver too, kind of the same as Washington.
It's so interesting with them because they need a quarterback too. They were another team. If the Jets are dangling Sam Darnold, that would be a great position to trade out that 20 pick or maybe trade down, giving wherever they trade down to the Jets that pick and solidifying that position. But I think they're more than likely going to be looking for that next wide receiver. I think they need a wide receiver. I don't think Robinson is going to be there that long. I think Robinson is he signed an extension. I mean, he signed his franchise tag. He is going to be gone next year or the year after. So I think getting his fill-in in the future, I think that would make more sense for Chicago. Or going after another corner. That's where I think they need to look.
Oh, yeah, because they stupidly cut Kyle Fuller. For
which made no sense, and he signed right away. So Indianapolis Colts.
They could go one of two areas, either receiver or edge rusher, because those are really the only
Pittman.
two.
I don't know. I think
They don't need. They still need another guy though. They can't. Paris Campbell's too injury prone.
I would look at a corner position too, because even though they brought back what's his name again, Rhodes. I think he's old, and how many years does Rhodes have left?
Yeah, I think they've found corners and they've made safeties work in their system. The only thing they've really lacked is edge rushers, and even them bringing in free agency too. They've tried to bought Jabal Sheard, they've tried Justin Houston, and it just hasn't worked. I think they really just need more in that area. They maybe go after the Michigan kid, Pay, or maybe Greg Rousseau from Miami, who I know Mark really likes. He brought him up, where they could work with that kind of hybrid type pass rusher and make it work in that system.
The Titans, they need defense, and more defense. They did lose Corey Davis, so some people would say if Waddle is sitting there, they could draft and fill in the position, but they don't really need wide receiving help with the running back as good as Derrick Henry, and they still have A.J. Brown, who's one of the best underrated wide receivers in all of football. He is a top 10 wide receiver, hands down. But I think Tennessee needs a pass rusher. I don't know how many good pass rushers. Expect a linebacker, a top-end linebacker, to get drafted at 22.
Yeah, the linebacker, their coverage linebackers, run-stopping type linebackers are fine. They brought back Jayon Brown. They still have Rashaan Evans there. So they have enough depth there, but yeah, the edge rushing they definitely need. I don't know why they overpaid Bud Dupree. That was probably the worst contract I've seen this free agency so far. But they could definitely get somebody to complement him. They could go Rousseau. Maybe they go interior too. Christian Barmore from Alabama is the guy that he played a great national championship game, so his stock has definitely rose because they lost Jarrell Casey last year too. So they could go in a lot of different directions of defense. Remember, they could go corner too because they lost Adoree Jackson and they lost Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler.
The New York Jets at 23. Speedy.
If there are good corners there, that should be the priority. Otherwise, Leatherwood, I think, is the pick.
Leatherwood at 23?
Yeah, he's nice.
I think he's going to fall all the way to the second round, and I think you can get him early in the second round because you still have your pick. You're the second pick in the second round. Yep. Mm-hmm. You can still get Leatherwood at 2. I think Leatherwood will be there. Yeah. I think Leatherwood would be there. I say you go after running back over here. I think you solidify your. I know Tevin Coleman is there, but how many years does Tevin Coleman have left? 2 years, a year? I mean, you need to bring in. I don't know if they're going to do that. I know because now that they brought Tevin Coleman and they did bring in what's his name again last year, Pirine. I don't think they're going to draft a running back, but also wide receiver. If Eric Waddle is somehow sitting there at 23, they'd be stupid not to draft Waddle there. It's not Eric Waddle. I'm sorry,
Jalen Waddle.
I always call him Eric Waddle.
Mix him up with Eric Weddle.
I'm sorry, Jalen Waddle. I think if Jalen Waddle is sitting there at 23, which I don't see him to be, but if he is, I say you snatch him right up there because he would be a perfect fit. Right. Put him on the other side with Denzel Mims. Obviously, you brought Corey Davis. You really have a beast of weapons all over the field now. And now you really could decide what you're going to do with Jamison Crowder, if you want to bring him back or you want to drop him.
And Waddle's interesting, too, because he's also lined up at running back, too. He's very fast where he could use that kind of slot, like hybrid-type system for a Shanahan offense.
Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh.
Oh, they need a lot on offense, too.
Quarterback is where they
could go quarterback. They could go offensive line. I mean, there's a lot of areas the Steelers.
What quarterback do you think would fit that system?
The Steelers? Oh, jeez.
Kid from Florida?
No, I have my doubts with him in the NFL, even though I did like him as a college player.
I don't think they'll draft a quarterback. They might trade for Darnold too. I don't know if they'll draft a quarterback in this draft though. I think
that's why the Jets have to hold on to Darnold. Do not trade. Do not throw him away and get nothing back for him. You can really dangle him around and really I mean, Pittsburgh trading the 24th pick for Sam Darnold, that would be a good trade.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario, considering I don't know if they would go with a running back in the first round. Even though they lost Juju, or no, they got Juju. They kept Juju anyway, so they don't need receiver. Offensive line, maybe, but I mean, the Steelers always draft unconventionally anyway, so I don't think it's going to be much of a they're going to do this flashy thing type thing. They did trade up 2 years ago for Devin Bush. It also wins.
They need a pass rusher. They need an edge rusher.
I think their system is, though, fine for it, where they've made other edge rushers work, so I'm not as worried about that. If they were to go defense...
After what's his name again got hurt?
Yeah, Watt, Dupree. But my point is, if they were going to go defense, I think they would go secondary more than anything else, because that is really bad outside of Minka.
Jacksonville, I say they go after running back. I think that's what they're going to do at 25. I think you have
Even
Harris.
with the way James Robinson played last year?
I don't care. Because James Robinson, you can't bet on one guy after the first year, and especially in Urban Meyer's offense. I think you go after a running back at this position, and I think Harris, I have Etienne, who could fall, both guys could fall all the way into the second round, which would be a travesty, because I think both guys are NFL talented running back stars in the league. Both good running backs. I think that last year would have been a top 10, top 15 pick, both of those guys. So I say
I'd
running
still
back.
stick to defense if I was Jacksonville. They need way too much.
What do you think they need?
They pretty much everything. Really, who's talented on that team? You got Miles Jack, Josh Allen, and the young corner they drafted last year played all right, and C.J. Henderson. That's really it that I could trust.
Cleveland,
a lot of directions they could go in. They
got 5 minutes, so you spit it out.
I would just say best player on the board, probably a linebacker or pass rusher or something like that.
I say I don't think they need a pass rusher. I think their defense is loaded. I think
we got a call.
Let's see if this is somebody. Welcome to the great Below the Mic. Who are we speaking to? Hello?
Yo.
Who are we speaking to?
Oh, my bad, Errol. I didn't know you were on the air.
Oh, Ike, what's going on, man? Ike, I'll talk to you in a little while, all right?
What are you talking about on the show?
We're finishing up with the NFL draft.
So, Justin Fields to the Jets, correct?
I think Zach Wilson to the Jets right now. It seems like it's a foregone conclusion. So
you need a stronger arm in the Meadowland weather. You know that.
Zach Wilson has the best arm in this draft.
Oh my God! He has to twist his hips like he's jumping out of a freaking convertible, which he.
Mr. Feldman, Mr. Feldman, trust me. Look, the best deep thrower in this draft is Zach Wilson. It's a fact. It's
Justin Fields.
I love Justin Fields. He's not Speedy. Who's the best deep thrower in this draft?
The best deep accuracy is Zach Wilson.
Who has the best deep throw in this draft?
You guys forgot about I'm not talking about percentages, the eye test. Didn't you guys see the Clemson game? He threw at least 3 freaking 40-plus yard touchdowns easily.
Go watch what Zach Wilson did in his bowl game.
He was playing high school.
Oh, give me a break.
He also plays with them, too.
He plays with garbage. He plays with guys that are
I like Fields more, too, Ike, but Wilson's not far behind.
Dude, this is Blake Bortles 2.0.
Definitely not.
No.
Zach Wilson, I'm telling you, no, I think Zach Wilson's a Patrick Mahomes type of hybrid. I think that's oh my God, what?
He's sober Manziel.
Oh my God, he's so much better than Manziel, and I'm a Manziel fan.
No, Manziel beat Alabama.
Oh my God, are you on drugs, Feldman? You are out of your mind. Do you realize this guy is a 71% accurate thrower, and anything over 20 yards or more. Again, with wide receivers you never even heard of. They're not making the NFL.
The freaking Ronkonkoma Thunderbirds.
Ike, listen to me. I'm going to tell you. How many BY quarterbacks have gone into the NFL and been successful? How many?
0.
Wrong. 3.
Who?
3. And 2 of them were, and I found out 2 of them were Hall of Famers.
What do you consider 2 are Hall of Famers?
Mm-hmm. Steve Young, you ever heard of him?
Yes. That's actually, he could be a right-handed Steve Young, but I don't think he has the weapons around him in New York, Jacksonville.
He's 21 years old. He's 21 years old.
He went to Atlanta, and he's playing with
Steve
Calvin.
Young was drafted by Tampa. First of all, he was backing up Joe Montana.
No, I'm talking about Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson
Yes.
was to go to Atlanta, or that would be the best option for him to have the best weapons.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but again, you're also judging.
If he goes to the Jets, he has Corey Davis. He has Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims.
Player of all time.
Yes, but he also played behind the best quarterback of all time. Okay, Joe Montana. So
what's the common denominator? Jerry Rice.
Listen,
Come on,
honestly, I don't really think that you know who Zach Wilson is.
Mike.
I'm not a.
I listened to the last time I was on this show, man. It sounded like I was like you were stepping on my neck.
I'm telling you right now, and I'm not. I am a Justin Fields fan. I love I think Justin Fields is the best quarterback in this class, in my eyes.
Screams Rob Saleh's buddy. He's tough. He's quiet, perfect for New York, and he has a strong arm.
I don't want another quiet guy. I don't want another quiet guy. Quiet guys don't work. I want a guy that's a good leader in the middle of the huddle. And Zach Wilson, everybody says, is the best one out of all of them. So I want the guy that's going
in the New York spotlight. Do we need Zach Wilson's a groin shot in Times Square?
My God, man! I think Zach Wilson would be a perfect fit for the Jets. I really do. I'm
talking about. You sound like his agent.
I'm really not, and I'm a Justin Fields fan, but I really believe in the right situation. Zach Wilson fits the best, first of all, in Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's a fact. Everybody has said it.
Check out this. Urban Meyer was at the pro day for Justin Fields. I think he's just I think he wants Fields, but he doesn't want Fields on the Jaguars. You need a more ready now type of quarterback, and that's Trevor Lawrence. So
Fields is ready now.
As much as I could see that he wants to pay respect to the OHIO, whatever, he's taking Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, he's taking Trevor Lawrence, and I think the Jets are going with Zach Wilson. I think Justin Fields. I think the Jets are going with. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going with Trey Lance or Justin Fields. That's what I think is going to happen.
You want to bet who has a better rookie year, Justin Fields or Zach Wilson?
Yeah, I'll make a bet. How much you want to bet?
You want to bet who has a better career instead, actually?
Absolutely.
All right. $50. Who has the better career?
$50? If it's going to be 12, 13 years.
Or QB rating.
How about $1,000? How about $1,000?
3 to 5 years.
How about $1,000?
I'm telling you, it's sober Manziel. Manziel, if he had this Cleveland Brown team around him, he could have won a title after year 3, or at least won
You, my friend, are going to apologize to me when you watch this guy play. You're going to apologize. You've never watched. How many games? How many real games did you watch? We have to go. But how many real games have you seen this kid play? Honestly,
Zach Wilson would.
How many games have Ike? How many games did you watch? How many games did you watch?
Brady's good.
I'm asking you, how many games did you watch and play this year live?
2 highlight packages.
Highlights and not a game.
Nope, not a game.
It's not a game. Okay, I'm so sick and tired of listening to people say, "I've watched highlights."
So what
Oh my God, so much that you guys miss. First of all, in the huddle, how he commands the huddle. How many?
He looks like he's taking somebody to prom. I don't want him on the New York team. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's
because of his looks.
Oh God, he's perfect for the Jets.
His agent is going to burn him out. I'm telling you, he's going to be exhausted by year 2, and Rob Saleh is going to be like, Zach, focus. Justin Fields will have that focus.
Just remember, he has ADD. Okay, he has ADD, and everybody, hold on. Everybody said that he wasn't. Everybody says he wasn't going to have a great. I'm trying to explain something. You stop cutting me off.
Talking about me? Everybody knows I have ADD.
No, Zach Wilson has ADD. And everybody said that he wasn't going to get to BYU and he wasn't going to have a 3.0 or more grade point average.
My point, then. He's not going to be able to focus in New York.
Again, no, I'm not. I'm trying to explain your point. You're being wrong. This guy went to BYU. Yes, BYU is one of the hardest schools to get into and to keep a grade point average. He had a 3.3 grade point average its whole way through. And this guy is a studier. He studies tape more than anybody does.
Are you John Gruden?
I'm just telling you what I've seen. And
by the way, Ike, you have a seal of approval from Snug. He says he likes you as a caller. Snug also says makes for Earl wear a prom dress and hold up a sign asking Zach Wilson.
Anyways, bud, we gotta go. I'll call you later.
All right. You don't want to talk business on? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Give me a call, brother.
All right, man. All right. Ike, who's never watched Zach Wilson play yet.
2 highlight packages. Nope, not the same as a game. Nice try.
Oh, my God. What is wrong with people? How do you make a judgment watching a highlights?
Yes.
It's terrible.
Do people realize that highlight reels are only positive things?
People said Deshaun Watson wasn't going to be a good quarterback, and they watched highlights of him. And look how good he is, okay? Oh, yeah, I've watched highlights. I know what he is. He's not going to be a good quarterback. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. What's his name against? Dabo Sweeney doesn't know what he's talking. Michael Jordan, ha, 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 ha. Meanwhile, he threw to nobody last year and led the league in yards thrown. It makes no sense. I don't understand people. They're out of their minds. Anyways.
Snug, did you ask Zach Wilson to prom driving by BYU?
I'm sorry, whatever. Anyways, that's it for our show. We didn't get through the draft, the first round of the draft, but we got to go. We will be back next week with our new show if our drops are made. Obviously, the Loudmouths, the Sports Loudmouths, which will air Wednesdays and Thursday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. It's going to be a 3-hour show with me, Speedy, Ike, and obviously Josh Silverberg. So stay tuned for that. That's it, guys. That is that.
Snug says, I did. He was asking for a better offer, a.k.a. Earl.
There you go.
There you go. You're Zach Wilson's prom date, according to Snug.
Oh, good for him. Anyways, that's it. That's it for Below the Mic. I like to thank all the fans that listen to the show every single day. Listen to the Weekend Crunch every single Saturday on 103.9, the LI News Radio Network. If you don't live in Long Island, you can't listen to it on the FM dial. All you got to do is go to iHeartRadio, LI News Radio. You can listen to our show, which will be airing. We will be pre-recording the show at the autistic event that we're going to be doing at 1 p.m. In East Meadow, at East Meadow Lane. So definitely check that out. And come and check us out and come and listen to the show live. Get some pictures, some autographs, whatever you guys want to do. We will be there. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Speedy Petey saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.